So, the story starts with the daily life of a Japanese man who works in an office, a person constantly weighed down by the heavy work. The sheer boredom of his existence was clear because he had spent 2 years working at the same business, giving so much time to his boss that the calendar date was about to change. As he walked home late at night, his tiredness was obvious. A throbbing headache bothered him, a physical sign of his exhaustion. The simple act of looking at his watch brought back a quick memory, a recollection of the first night he met his little friend. The dullness of the man's day was instantly broken when he got home. The simple click of the door opening let loose a rush of happy sounds, the excited scratching and quick movements of a tiny dog. This small, fluffy creature, whose extreme cuteness showed real energy, was named Leo. The man, now on the floor petting his beloved pet, remembered a funny story about choosing the name Leo, a masculine name picked while thinking of athletic and strong male dogs, only to discover that his loyal friend was, in fact, a girl. A strange feeling suddenly hit the man. What felt like an earthquake was quickly understood to be the man himself shaking, which caused a sudden, rough fall. When he woke up, the setting had totally changed. He was lying under an open sky, surrounded by a thick covering of trees, and the sounds of his dog's barking were the first familiar thing he heard. He looked up in amazement as he saw a huge, wolf-like animal, unbelievably large and magnificent, standing over him, its huge face suddenly filling his sight. The man was completely confused, quietly shouting to himself that wolves this large don't exist. Fear first took hold, as he expected a deadly attack. But the giant creature, instead of eating him, reached out a massive tongue and gave him a wet, loving lick. The immense size of the animal, mixed with the familiar action, started a confused realization that this colossal wolf, with the now familiar and innocent eyes, was actually Leo, his small dog, somehow greatly changed. The man noticed Leo's huge growth, commenting on how unbelievably brave the dog now looked. He began to wonder if he was dreaming, a sensible thought given how big the change was. He tried the idea of riding her, a suggestion seemingly understood and even welcomed by the enormous animal. The immediate worries of a lost person in a strange new place then became important. Surrounded by a huge, endless forest, the man felt desperate for water. Knowing his survival skills were useless in this new place, Leo proved her new ability, quickly leading him to a stream where he could drink. The man expressed his thanks and wonder for his now giant friend. Taking a needed break, he apologized to Leo for ignoring her because of his old work-focused life. He noticed the peaceful beauty of his new surroundings and realized he could not recall the last time he felt so deeply relaxed. The brief rest was broken by Leo's sudden attention, sensing something far away. The man then saw a disgusting, two-legged pig-like creature. He quickly recognized the monster as an orc, a creature only seen before in video games. Leo quickly attacked, showing huge, explosive strength that beat the monster right away. The man, though stunned by the unbelievable event, found a moment of dark humor in the situation as he prepared a piece of the dead orc for a meal he surprisingly found quite tasty. Deciding to follow the river to find a way out of the endless forest, Leo's happy mood seemed to suggest confidence in their direction. Their trip was stopped by a distant cry for help, forcing the kind-hearted man to hurry toward the source, hoping the person in trouble might also have a map to get them out. They found a young woman being threatened by yet another huge orc. Leo's sudden arrival scared the monster, letting the man rush forward and check on the woman's safety. The woman, clearly of high or important status given her clothes, thanked the man very much for saving her. The woman, who was immediately thought to be beautiful by the man, then called Leo a silver fenrir and asked if the monster was his partner, a word that completely confused the man. Forced to make something up, the man accepted the role of the silver fenrir's master, choosing to just go along with this reality, which seemed to confirm his suspicion that he had been moved into a fantasy world, maybe a video game. The woman, whose knowledge seemed wide, then described the silver fenrir as a legendary being. She explained that they are the strongest kind of monster, totally unwilling to serve humans, having speed faster than the wind itself, using powerful skills like being able to shoot fireballs from their mouths, and even having claws that can tear apart anything, and fangs that can break everything. Their fur is a respected sign of their power, and the creature itself is the symbol on the royal badge. Despite this amazing description, the man proudly insisted that the legendary creature was simply Leo, his friend. He tried to humbly present himself as just a regular guy with no important background. The woman's surprise was great, as she declared with certainty that no regular person could become friends with a silver fenrir. She was convinced he must be a person of great fame. He again maintained his simple identity, revealing his name as Haruka Takumi. The woman then introduced herself in return, with the formal revelation that she was Claire Libert, repeating her deepest thanks for his rescue. The massive white wolf, Leo, stood calmly next to the man, Hiruka Takumi, as the young woman named Claire Libert repeated her thanks, her voice showing formal relief after the terrifying moment with the orc. Claire asked for less formality, urging the man to just call her Claire and to drop the titles for himself as well. With a feeling of the unreal, the man agreed, accepting his new name in this world as simply Takumi. With the immediate danger gone, Takumi asked about Claire's risky journey alone into the woods. Claire explained her reason that she was looking for plants that could be used as medicine. The orc's sudden arrival had scared her horse, making it run away and leaving her alone and in danger. The man listened, realizing the threat was genuine, not just a part of a game. Claire then asked the same question back, wondering what brought him and his huge friend into the deep forest. Having no believable story ready for his strange trip to this world, Takumi gave a simple, general answer that he had simply woken up in this forest without knowing why, and had been walking through it since then. Despite the oddness of his claim, Claire, perhaps completely focused on his silver fenrir companion, accepted the information without heavy questioning. She then leaned in with a request, asking Takumi if he would listen for a moment to a favor she needed to ask. Takumi, already grateful for her explaining what Leo was, quickly agreed to help, which brought a bright, thankful smile and many thanks from Claire. The favor was easy but challenging that Claire needed help in her search for the medicinal plants. She gave an important detail about where the plant grows, noting that it was rumored to grow close to the river in this forest, yet despite her best efforts it was nowhere to be found. Takumi, watching Leo sniff the ground, quietly tried to remember his basic knowledge and cautiously guessed the plant was a kind of mugwort based on Claire's description. However, he was quickly proven wrong when the plant's true name was revealed. The group continued their search along the river, a job made much safer with the giant silver fenrir walking along. After a time of searching without luck, exhaustion started to set in, and the group took a short break. It was during this rest that a truly unexplainable thing happened, that a patch of the medicinal herb suddenly grew out of the ground right in front of Takumi. Startled by what seemed to be a miracle or a magical event, he questioned if the plant had grown out of nowhere. Pushing the question aside in his excitement, he immediately called out to Claire, happily yelling that he had found them. Claire, overjoyed, confirmed the plant was indeed capwort and warmly thanked Takumi again, saying the discovery was only because of his help. The man, though deeply impressed by the mysterious event, modestly replied that he was just glad to be of help and that it was not a problem. With the medicinal herbs safely gathered, the next issue came up, and that was how to travel. Claire's horse was gone, and the forest stretched endlessly around them. Leo, sensing the difficulty, offered a solution by barking and waiting expectantly. Takumi, seeing the obvious answer, asked the giant wolf whether she wants them to ride on him. The silver fenrir agreed, and Claire, respectfully calling thus enormous creature Miss Leo, happily accepted the amazing offer. Both Takumi and Claire climbed onto the magnificent silver fenrir. With the two riders sitting on her back, the giant wolf leaped into a run, picking up speed quickly. The experience was thrilling and completely unbelievable. Takumi, having to shout over the speed, asked Leo if she knew where she was going. Claire stepped in, giving clear directions that they had to turn right, and then they will see a road soon after. Please follow its path. The road led them out of the thick woods and onto wide, open plains that stretched as far as he could see. The landscape was totally foreign to Takumi's city upbringing. The journey, on top of a legendary monster and beside a beautiful young woman, was the final piece of proof. Looking out at the country areas that looked nothing like anything he had ever seen, Takumi mentally confirmed that this was not a dream but a real journey to another world. Their fast travel soon brought them to a huge, impressive gate. Claire told Leo to stop in front of the gate, and the enormous wolf obeyed right away. The sight of a young woman coming up to the gates of such a grand estate on the back of a silver fenrir immediately caught the attention of the armored guards. Before they could react to the presence of a legendary monster, Claire gave a sharp command to stand down. "It's me." She then firmly told the confused soldiers that the silver fenrir was to be treated as a respected guest and that they should show proper respect. Claire then got down and turned to Takumi, inviting him inside. The man, still shocked by the day's events, looked past the iron gates and up at the building before him, finally understanding the full scale of Claire's status, that her home was an amazing mansion. The giant figure of Leo, the silver fenrir, waited politely outside the huge old stone walls of the Libert estate. Sebastian, the family butler, a dignified man who seemed worried, quickly rushed to greet his lady. He was relieved to find Claire safe, saying he wouldn't have known what to do if she had been harmed. Claire, in turn, apologized for causing him stress and immediately asked about her sister, Tellura. Sebastian's news was bad, that Tellura remained confined to her bed with a dangerously high fever. Claire quickly handed over the medicinal herbs, noting their critical importance for her sister's health. Claire then shared the scary details of her rescue, explaining how an orc had trapped her and that she believed she was going to die, but Takumi had stepped in and saved her. Sebastian formally introduced himself, bowing low, and offered many thanks to the newcomer, stating that no words can express his thanks. Takumi, however, remained his usual humble self, waving off the praise as not a big deal, really, and insisted that Sebastian should be thanking Leo. The fact that the legendary beast was Takumi's partner caused Sebastian's calm to break, a quick look of shock crossing his face. Sebastian, confirming the creature was a silver fenrir, spoke of its massive power. Having seen Leo's claws cut right through the orc, he began to explain the creature's importance, describing silver fenrirs as unbeatable, their very image having become the symbol of their kingdom. The idea that such a creature could be tamed and connected as a partner was, in his view, impossible to believe. Takumi, always wanting to protect the bond he had with his friend, gently corrected the butler. He admitted that calling his relationship with Leo taming was a stretch, and insisted he would rather call her his partner instead of his familiar. The man revealed that he had simply taken her in years ago, a truth that only made the mystery greater. Claire joined the talk with her own confusion, struggling to understand how one could simply adopt a young silver fenrir, especially since their fierce parents would surely be nearby. Takumi went back to his prepared, half-true story, describing Leo's origin as a simple Maltese puppy he found curled up inside a cardboard box by the side of the road, abandoned by someone. This completely unbelievable explanation caused Claire to look at him with a mix of wonder and doubt, silently asking, who in the world was he, and why this much? Luckily for Takumi, Claire abruptly stopped questioning him, declaring that the immediate health of her sister Tellura is most important and that the questions can wait until later. She instructed Sebastian to welcome their guest, who had not only saved her life but had also gotten the necessary capwort plant. Sebastian led the man into the royal home, the amazing mansion that was the Libert estate, formally welcoming him on behalf of all the servants. Takumi, who had only ever known the simple comfort of an apartment, was clearly overwhelmed by the size of the entrance and the majestic hallway. A group of servants and maids gathered to greet Claire, offering their sincere thanks to Takumi and Leo for saving their lady from a terrible danger. Two maids, Layla and Gelda, introduced themselves and were quickly given the job of seeing that Takumi and Leo are properly looked after. Takumi, realizing the selfless reason behind Claire's quest, she went to the dangerous forest for her sick sister, was deeply impressed by her kindness. He quickly voiced his one worry and that, what about his partner? Layla immediately calmed him, saying that hosting Leo was no issue, confirming that there was more than enough space for his mighty friend. The man and his gigantic dog friend were taken into a lavish sitting room, decorated with elegant furniture and a feeling of immense wealth. Takumi, a man whose ingrained Japanese desire to not cause trouble had returned, felt increasingly awkward in the rich setting. He sat down, petting the huge head of the silver fenrir, who had comfortably settled at his feet. The strange nature of the situation hit him again, that his small dog was a huge monster, and he was a guest in a luxurious mansion all because of a fantasy story event. Layla and Gelda returned with drinks, carrying a tray that held a delicate teapot and cups. Leo, showing amazing politeness, reached out and gently took the teacup from the tray with her mouth. However, this show of monstrous courtesy was too much for Gelda, who let out a scream and dropped the saucer. Takumi quickly rushed to apologize for Leo, assuring the frightened maid that he understood her fear, as Leo does look scary. He insisted that his partner was adorable and won't bite, a statement that earned him a strong correction from Layla, who scolded Gelda for being rude to a guest. Layla, watching Leo's gentle actions, defended the silver fenrir, pointing out that despite her large size, she had avoided using a loud voice when taking the tea, intentionally trying to not scare her. Takumi's playful comment that Gelda was a cute girl, just like Leo, helped Gelda finally calm down. Claire soon returned, having delivered the capwort to her sister. Takumi immediately asked about Tellura's condition. Claire assured him the medicine was being used and thanked him again truly and for everything you've done. Then, the expected question was asked, and that was asked by Claire to Takumi, that from where he came from. She clearly stated her complete confusion that Takumi's not knowing about silver fenrirs, despite having one as a partner, and his general lack of knowledge about monsters was obviously strange. She confessed that she owed him more than just her life, so the question was asked out of deep curiosity and a need to understand. Though Takumi first thought about giving a vague excuse, Claire softened, seeing his discomfort and promising that she would not pressure him if he felt uncomfortable. However, she then gave the final trusting conviction that she noted his strange clothing, but ultimately declared that no matter how outlandish his story turned out to be, she would still believe him. Her reason was simple, that she had seen how Ms. Leo follows him so devotedly. With this profound expression of trust, Takumi finally decided to tell the truth. He accepted her trust and promised that he would tell her, and that they would start from the beginning of when he woke up in the forest. With the question of his origins finally addressed, Takumi began to slowly unravel the extraordinary tale of his accidental transport. He spoke of Leo, his small pet dog in his former world, a mere puppy he had saved from an abandoned cardboard box and raised. The dramatic event, Takumi explained, was her instantaneous change in both size and build upon their arrival. Supposing that she had been given a special power after coming to this new world, changing her into the legendary silver fenrir, Claire, ever attentive, agreed that she had never heard of an animal changing into a silver fenrir, but the man's honesty forced her to listen further. Takumi used the term isekai'd to describe his experience, explaining the concept through the lens of fictional stories from his world, where people are mysteriously whisked away to other realms. He stressed the huge difference in realities, pointing out that fearsome creatures like orcs existed only as fantasy in his memory. Sebastian approached Claire, a worried look on his face, to address the outlandish nature of the guest's story. However, Claire firmly shut down his doubts, declaring that Takumi had proven himself trustworthy through his actions and honesty, convincing her that she was inclined to believe what he said. Reassured by Claire's faith, Takumi gratefully accepted her offer to stay at the Libert estate, admitting that with no other option, he would accept the offer. Claire immediately ordered Sebastian and the maids to prepare a room for Takumi without delay, showing her commitment to his well-being. As a gesture of hospitality, Claire excitedly planned a welcome party for the pair. When asked about Leo's favorite food, Takumi asked if they had sausages in this world, to which Leo responded with an excited and massive "ruff." The conversation shifted to a confusing event that had happened during the herb search. Takumi had noticed the capwort he found, which had been relatively fresh, had suddenly turned dried the moment he was about to return them to the table. He questioned what caused such a rapid change, prompting Claire to suggest a more urgent matter that was of checking if the herb could still be used. After Sebastian confirmed that Tellura would be fine soon, they returned to the mystery of the dried plant. Sebastian and the maids explained the local belief in gifts, which are defined as blessings from gods. The butler explained that these gifts are extremely rare, bestowed upon only one in every million newborns, and that gift holders typically excel in certain areas. He provided examples, noting a gift in smithing could allow one to craft swords that can cut through anything, while a gift in magic grants greater power. Crucially, Sebastian pointed out that gift holders were only known from past records in this kingdom, making Takumi's presence even more remarkable. Claire and Sebastian theorized that the spontaneous drying of the capwort was no ordinary feat, noting that a spell used specifically to dry plants is unheard of, and concluded that Takumi must have received a gift himself, one that appeared upon his arrival. Sebastian proposed using a magic device to identify the nature of this unique power, but the plan was happily put aside in favor of dinner. After their meal, they returned to the living room, where the discussion turned to the subject of magic. Takumi admitted to his hosts that in his world, the concept of magic doesn't exist and only appeared in fictional stories. Sebastian, delighted to explain this fundamental concept of his world, took the floor. He taught Takumi that magic is simply the use of mana that exists in one's body, a mana that every living being possesses and cannot live without. Using magic requires saying a chant, which determines the spell's effect and strength. He explained that there are 4 basic types of elemental magic, and those are fire, water, wind, and earth. Sebastian then demonstrated a simple fire elemental spell, which impressed Takumi. However, Takumi pointed out a practical weakness: that the time required for chanting, especially for the more powerful spells, would be impossible during a direct monster attack. Sebastian revealed the existence of advanced techniques, such as voiceless chants. Their academic discussion was cut short by a knock, and Claire's younger sister burst into the room. Tellura, whose recovery was made possible by the dried capwort, had come to thank the guest who had saved her sister and secured her medicine. The serious discussion about magic was abruptly halted by the energetic entrance of Tellura, Claire's younger sister, who bounded into the room. She announced with beaming enthusiasm that she had never felt better. Claire's amazement was clear, as she questioned if the medicine had worked so quickly, curing her sister already. Tellura introduced herself to Takumi, revealing she was Tellura Libert, and thanked him for saving Claire and finding the crucial medicinal herb. Takumi, introducing himself as Hiruka Takumi, quickly asked her to drop the formalities and call him simply Takumi. Claire, though relieved, urged her sister to return to bed, reminding the girl that she had only just recovered. Tellura apologized with a slump of her shoulders, explaining that she was so bored from being cooped up in her room for such a long time. The younger sister's attention was then completely captivated by the magnificent white wolf. She asked, completely astounded, "Do they have a dog now?" Claire corrected her, explaining that the creature was no ordinary dog but a powerful silver fenrir. Takumi stepped in, clarifying that the creature's name was Leo and emphasizing their bond by calling her his partner. Tellura, delighted, asked her sister for permission to touch the fenrir. Takumi, observing that Leo loves playing with children, granted the request. Tellura joyfully ran up to Leo, petting the massive head, which Leo seemed to welcome. Sebastian then entered, interrupting the joyful moment to take Tellura back to her room for rest. Before leaving, Tellura turned back and, glowing with happiness, thanked Takumi and Ms. Leo for bringing such joy to her sister. With the day's excitement finally over, Takumi retired to the luxurious guest room Layla had prepared. Lying in the extravagant bed, with Leo sleeping soundly beside him, the man's thoughts turned inward. He mused that if his experience was truly a dream, it was a pretty long one from which he still hadn't woken up. This led him to the undeniable conclusion that he really was in another world. The next morning, Takumi was roused from his sleep, not by an alarm, but by Leo's gentle barking. He was startled to find Claire already in his room, wishing him good morning. Flustered, he realized he wasn't a morning person and joked quietly to Leo for not waking him up earlier. Claire was there to invite him to join her for breakfast in the dining room. Before they could leave, Tellura arrived, still full of energy and eager to play with Leo. Takumi was charmed by the girl's enthusiastic affection for his partner. Tellura, however, insisted that Takumi should drop the formality, stating that since he was an amazing person and the master of the legendary fenrir, she should be the one to show respect. Takumi felt intensely embarrassed by the high praise. As he prepared to leave for breakfast, a new concern arose. The man instinctively rubbed his face and realized he needed a shave. He noted the irony that he lacked even a tea razor in this fantastical world, and he also didn't even have a change of clothes. He decided he needed to speak with Sebastian about his predicament. At the dining table, surrounded by a magnificent spread, Takumi discreetly clapped to get the butler's attention. He apologized for the imposition and whispered his request to Sebastian that could he borrow a change of clothes and could he shave his beard? Sebastian immediately apologized for failing to recognize Takumi's needs and promised to send the items shortly. Tellura, having finished her meal, asked Claire if she could take Leo to the garden to play. Claire agreed, asking Takumi if he could look after Leo for a moment. Takumi excused himself, promising to join them after dealing with his personal needs. Layla arrived at his room, bringing new clothes and the means to shave. Takumi's eyes widened in astonishment as Layla presented a plain knife for his facial hair, confirming his suspicion, wondering if he was supposed to use a knife. He carefully, and with some difficulty, scraped away his prickly stubble. The process was highly uncomfortable, causing an unpleasant itchy sensation. Emerging from his room clean-shaven and clad in dashing new clothes, Takumi was greeted enthusiastically by Claire and Tellura, who exclaimed that he looked like a brand new person. Tellura, full of infectious energy, ran ahead to play with Leo. Watching his enthusiastic companion play with the recovering girl, Takumi felt a wave of satisfaction. Sebastian joined them, expressing his immense relief at seeing Tellura up and about with so much energy. Claire gently teased the butler about his excessive worry, whispering that she would keep in mind not to worry him too much next time around. Takumi, however, laughed and insisted that her kind concern was just a part of her charm. Claire, surprised and secretly delighted, was left momentarily speechless by the unexpected compliment. The morning after Takumi's true origins were revealed, the party set out from the Libert estate, bound for the nearby town of Rakdos. The grand carriage, pulled by a fresh horse, carried Claire, her sister Tellura, who had enthusiastically insisted on joining, although she was confined to the coach, and the butler, Sebastian. Takumi, now clean-shaven and clad in a simple but well-fitting new outfit, sat inside the carriage, feeling a mixture of gratitude and unease. The purpose of the trip, Claire insisted, was purely practical, and it's to purchase necessities for Takumi, most notably, appropriate attire. When Takumi questioned the expense, Claire firmly dismissed his concern, assuring him he needn't worry about the money. As the carriage rattled along accompanied by the constant GRTK sound effects, Takumi's mind returned to the peculiar gift he seemed to possess. He apologized for his repeated inquisitiveness, but pressed Claire, asking if they would finally be able to analyze his unknown ability in Rakdos. Claire confirmed this, explaining they would procure his clothes first and then proceed with the examination. Takumi pondered the nature of a gift, prompting Claire to reveal that while some are capable of demonstrating their power from birth, others, like those from families lacking gift holders, may only awaken their ability later in life. She shared a profound belief that the greatest importance lay not in the ability itself, but in how a person decides to use their gift. Before arriving at the main gate, the man who drove the carriage paused to park the vehicle, asking Takumi to wait patiently. Upon entering the town of Rakdos, Takumi was immediately struck by the loud noise and congestion, exclaiming that the town was incredibly busy and crowded. Claire explained the strategic importance of the settlement, that Rakdos stood as the only safe way to proceed through the surrounding dangerous lands. She elaborated that the forest where Takumi awoke stretched throughout the south and west, and the mountains lay to the north, clarifying that both areas are infested by monsters. The first stop was the largest market in the town, the place where the Libert family regularly acquired their ingredients and foodstuffs. The scent of food immediately drew Leo's attention. The great silver fenrir quivered with excitement at the sight of a sausage stand, nearly pulling Takumi with her sheer eagerness. Claire smiled knowingly, mentioning that Leo's love for sausages was so intense that she had to watch out for a mad dash for them whenever she saw them. Sebastian, arriving to escort them, directed their attention to the first order of business that Mr. Takumi's attire, suggesting they visit the tailor. Inside the tailor's shop, Claire immediately requested tailor-made clothes for Takumi. Takumi, acutely sensitive to the expense, felt embarrassed and insisted he was perfectly content with ready-made clothes. Claire's response was an expression of utter shock as she questioned in disbelief, "Is there such a thing as ready-made clothes?" She confessed that in all her life she's only ever worn tailor-made clothes. Harton, the tailor, stepped in to explain that mass-produced clothes were the common choice for most people as they more or less fit their size. Takumi remained firm in his choice of ready-made clothes, explaining that accepting an expensive bespoke set would make him feel like he was owing a huge debt to the family. As the party, now accompanied by 2 armored guards, left the shop, they were stopped by a group of 6 ruffians. Noticing Claire's expensive attire and believing Takumi to be unarmed and defenseless, the leader of the gang declared they were out of money and intended to rob them. Before the soldiers could act, Leo intervened. The silver fenrir, letting out a fierce glare, utterly terrified the initial group. One robber, attempting to appear brave, foolishly charged, only to be struck by something Leo spit at him, forcing him to fall back with a shout of "Tui!" The sheer power of the legendary beast instantly demoralized the entire gang, leaving them stunned and slumped on the ground. Takumi gently patted Leo's head, reminding her with a soft reprimand. Remember what he told her about eating things that aren't food? Takumi asked Claire if such ruffians were a regular occurrence in Rakdos. Claire confirmed the existence of bandits who prey on merchants and travelers, but conceded she had expected the guards to be more alert. The town guard finally arrived, apologizing for their slow response. Claire instructed them to arrest the defeated robbers. Claire then apologized to Takumi for the use of Leo, claiming it was not her intention to resort to intimidating them by using Ms. Leo. Takumi calmly excused her, pointing out that Leo was the one who chose to jump into the fray herself. As the group prepared to resume their shopping, a young woman from the crowd approached Takumi, asking, "Excuse me, may he have a little bit of his time?" The final events of the town visit began with an unexpected interruption that a young woman, encouraged by the silver fenrir's gentle manner, approached Takumi. The crowd that had gathered after Leo's swift defeat of the ruffians confirmed 2 things. First, that the elegant woman was indeed Lady Claire, and second, that the magnificent white creature was, astonishingly, a genuine silver fenrir. The woman, whose name was Nora, revealed a surprising story that she had seen the wolf before, witnessing her effortlessly shatter a sword with her fangs. Takumi, always wanting to present his loyal companion in a positive way, gently corrected the use of the term familiar, insisting that Leo was his partner. As the crowd grew, staring at the legendary beast, Takumi reassured them, saying Leo was a gentle soul at heart. He gave the simple command, "Leo." down, and the enormous fenrir immediately and obediently settled at his feet. Claire seized the moment, pointing out that the very fact that Leo had been strolling in this town without causing issues proved her calmness. Nora, convinced, apologized for her fear and, emboldened, reached out to pet the legendary beast. She gasped at the unexpected softness of the fur, noting she never imagined a silver fenrir's coat would feel so nice to the touch. Takumi graciously accepted her apology, telling her that it's all right, it's in the past. This interaction broke the townspeople's fear, leading to a petting frenzy as the locals clamored for a chance to touch the mythical creature. The shopping trip came to a complete halt for a period of almost 2 hours before the crowd finally went away. Once the town square was clear, Claire led Takumi to the next stop, and that's the finest general store he could find in Rakdos. Takumi was immediately impressed by the store's sheer size, describing it as huge and probably the largest store in this town. Inside, they met the owner, Hein. The shop contained an astonishing variety of goods, ranging from foodstuffs and accessories to weapons. It was among the miscellaneous goods that Takumi noticed a crucial detail confirming his otherworldly status, having a display of pocket watches. He immediately noticed that the clocks didn't have minute and second hands. Claire then revealed a fundamental difference in this new world's physics, and that's the concept of seconds and minutes is foreign here. Furthermore, the hour hand on their clocks goes up to 14 and cycles twice, meaning a full day constitutes 28 hours here. Takumi quickly reasoned that this might be due to a fundamental difference in how time is measured, or perhaps the planet itself has a slower rotation. He decided to purchase a pocket watch and a table clock from Hein to study this bizarre difference. As the shopping concluded, Takumi, wanting to do something for the family that had shown him so much kindness, pointed out some accessories he wanted to buy for them as gifts. Sebastian overheard the plan and interrupted, revealing the original plan was to purchase his items with the reward money Takumi earned for saving Lady Claire. Though grateful for the generous offer, Takumi's sense of personal pride prevailed, and he insisted that while he accepted the goods, he would still pay it back someday. Finally leaving the store, Takumi noted the considerable time they had spent in Rakdos, largely because Leo had been a bit too popular with the people of the town. He then suddenly remembered the second crucial objective of their trip is analyzing his gift. Claire acknowledged the mistake, but, checking the time, assured him that despite the lateness, it was still possible to visit the establishment to determine the nature of his mysterious power. The journey to the place where the young man, Takumi, was to undergo a mana analysis had been a walk down the street for a while. Eventually, the group arrived at their destination, a gray building marked by a black plaque featuring a white pentagram. One of the companions admitted that the ominous design gave them the creeps. Upon entering, the door made a distinct loud sound described as a krushok. A figure, presumably the analyst, greeted them with a simple hello and then immediately scolded them for their tardiness. The figure, an old lady, stated sternly, he certainly took his time. He should know better than to keep an old lady waiting. A male voice, one of Takumi's companions, offered a polite apology to the woman, whom he addressed as Isabel, explaining that they had been held up because of an incident. Isabel, seemingly the mana analyst, welcomed them, responding with, "Good evening, Isabel," to the man's initial address and then welcome. She then focused her attention on Takumi, the main subject of their visit. She correctly assumed that he was the young man who wanted a mana analysis, telling him that this examination was meant to help in analyzing his gift. She instructed the young man to touch the crystal ball and encouraged him not to be shy. The crystal ball lay in a bowl-like basin. As Takumi placed his hand over the crystal, small bright sparks of light began to come from the crystal ball and his hand, described by the sound effects as flicker. These sparks showed a reaction, confirming the presence of mana and the start of the analysis. Isabel watched the spectacle with a smile. After a moment, she announced that the young man was not lacking in quantity, that's for sure. She then offered her initial prediction and advice, suggesting that if he were to train hard, he could become quite the practitioner of the art of magic. The old woman then made a profound statement, looking intently at Takumi, and asking a rhetorical question that he is a gift holder, isn't he? This question confirmed the results of the mana analysis, officially identifying Takumi as someone who possessed a unique power. Isabel then revealed the name of Takumi's power to him, that his gift is called herb cultivation. She immediately followed this reveal with a brief explanation of the power's function. As the name implies, she stated, it allows him to grow weeds, herbs, and such. One of Takumi's companions, a young lady, asked for more details on how his gift worked. Another character clarified the general capability, noting that he could grow pretty much any type of plant that's not a type of crop. Isabel added a critical warning to this power, that the cultivation should work, provided the herb he tries to grow is in its natural environment. Another male companion, likely Claire's father or guardian, then spoke, referencing a past event to demonstrate the gift's power. He asked Takumi's female companion, possibly Claire, if she thought Takumi's gift had a hand in her discovery. He explained that the group had searched everywhere and couldn't find any of the desired plant, yet the moment Takumi was on the ground, he found one right away. He then asked if this miraculous discovery applied to the capwort plant as well. The young woman, Claire, confirmed his suspicion, responding, yes, that was her assumption at least. Isabel, with a look of satisfaction, remarked that this story seems consistent with her analysis and concluded that he had a fine gift. Takumi, however, had an untold detail he had neglected to mention to Claire. He revealed that the herb had actually sprung out of the earth, right between his fingers. This instant manifestation only happened after he started imagining what kind of plant a capwort is. The conversation then took another turn when Claire excitedly asked Takumi if he had managed to dry the capwort. Takumi's old companion Isabel interjected, confirming he had indeed dried it but adding, with some surprise, it dried out after he picked it. Oh, he's right, he did. Takumi confessed that he had been thinking about how great it would be if the plant dried up sooner. Isabel then made another profound discovery about his power, and that his gift also included the ability to change the state of a plant into what he's looking for. The young man who had the gift expressed a slight uncertainty, wondering if the ability to grow any type of plant that's not a vegetable and have them ready for any given moment was amazingly convenient or just niche and bland. Isabel then offered the young man some final advice, emphasizing the responsibility that came with such a unique ability. She told him that how he uses it is up to him, and she added that whether or not the ability reaches its fullest potential is up to him. Her parting words of counsel were to think well before using it, reminding him that his gift was something truly special. With the analysis concluded, Takumi and the group returned home. A servant or guard welcomed them back, addressing them as "Milady, Mr. Takumi." The servant then announced that dinner was ready to be served. The servant directed Takumi and Ms. Leo to place their belongings in their room and then join them for dinner. The young man's journey into understanding his unique gift of herb cultivation had ended for the evening, leaving him with a deeper understanding of his power and a clear instruction to consider its future use. Takumi, in a moment of quiet affection with his powerful canine companion, Leo, sighed contentedly, a sound described as a "pw" as he gave the large dog a gentle pat. Takumi, having been ejected into a new world, found a profound sense of reassurance in the dog's presence. He called to the animal, "Leo, come here," and praised her for her good behavior during their trip into town. He congratulated her for not lashing out when people attempted to pat her, declaring her a good girl. He ruffled the fur on her head with a sound effect described as AWO ruffle, noting how her calm demeanor had shown the townsfolk that she was not scary at all. Takumi's admiration grew as he recalled the recent incident, praising her for stopping those bad guys from harming them. He concluded his praise with a heartfelt "great job, Leo." His confidence soared, and he declared, with her by his side, he was ready to face whatever this new world would throw at him. This tender moment was abruptly interrupted by a knock-knock at the door. Takumi, startled, quickly composed himself, muttering, "Oh, right." A maid named Ayla, partially visible through the doorway which opened with a kerchak sound, announced, "Mr. Takumi Milady awaits him in the dining room." The scene shifted to the dining room, where dinner had concluded. Takumi enthusiastically complimented the meal, exclaiming, he loved it. The meal was really delicious. He cleaned his plate and all. The chef, delighted by the high praise, responded that there is no greater praise for them than to hear someone appreciating their cooking. After the successful meal, Takumi engaged in a conversation with Claire, the milady. He reminded her that he shared a bit about himself yesterday and asked, so today wouldn't she tell him more about herself? Claire seemed momentarily flustered, denying any intention to discuss herself. Takumi persisted, saying he was curious about why she lived in and ran such a large villa and why the townsfolk seemed to revere her. Claire finally began to explain, starting with the reason for her independence. She explained that living separately was an effort to separate herself and her sister from their father. Takumi reacted by calling this a bit extreme. Claire admitted that her father was rather affectionate with them, but quickly qualified that statement. She revealed that her father's excessive affection manifested in persistently finding potential suitors. She recounted the exhausting ordeal, stating, she remembered having to turn down 5 men in a single day. It was exasperating. Their discussions, she lamented, would inevitably spiral to potential suitors practically every day. Her frustration peaked as she revealed the situation had escalated, and he started pushing suitors on Talura too. Even though she's only 10, the sheer absurdity of the situation caused her to go on a long explanation of her grievances, due to which Claire ended up venting about her father for half an hour. Claire finally coughed and apologized, acknowledging that her outburst was rather unbecoming of her. Takumi redirected the conversation back to the topic of the townsfolk's high regard for her, stating, they seemed to address her with a great deal of respect. Claire, answering his question, made a stunning revelation that the present head of the family, her father, governs over the surrounding territory, which includes the town of Raktos as well. She then dropped the true bombshell that the kingdom recognizes the Libert family as a line of dukes. Takumi was visibly shocked by the title dukes. Claire proceeded to educate him on the full noble hierarchy, explaining that from top to bottom, the nobility hierarchy consists of Duke Marquis, Margrave Count Viscount, and lastly, Baron. Stunned by the casual way he had addressed such a high-ranking noble, Takumi immediately offered his most humble apologies for how casual he had been toward her Lady Claire. Claire, however, put him at ease, kindly insisting, please speak to her as he's been doing this entire time. She encouraged him. If anything, he is welcome to be more casual with her, like how he is with Talura. After a moment of thought, Takumi, seeing that Milady insists, agreed to drop the overly formal speech. Takumi, who was an isekai traveler, then learned about an even greater mystery, a connection between his dog, Leo, and the local silver fenrir lore. Claire reminded him of an earlier conversation about the royal crest, which showcased an image of a silver fenrir. She then presented their family crest, explaining that the Libert family also had its own crest, which featured a silver fenrir that bears its teeth and fangs. This aggressive posture symbolized that they would crush anybody if they were so inclined. Claire went on to explain the significance of the fenrir to her family's nobility. Supposedly, in times past, a silver fenrir had an amicable relationship with the Libert family. With the fenrir's aid, the family triumphed over many wars. The kingdom, recognizing this achievement, granted the Libert family the status of nobility. Because of this history, the Libert family continued to honor silver fenrirs for generations. Claire pointed out that this history made it logical that only a few wouldn't know the existence of silver fenrirs in these lands. Takumi mused to himself that this historical account certainly gave context to his dog, Leo, being one of these majestic creatures. Just as the conversation reached this peak, Claire's guardian, the man who first apologized for Takumi's tardiness at the mana analysts, motioned to him, Mr. Takumi. A moment if he pleased. He then whispered a cryptic question. Had Takumi prepared the thing he wanted to prepare? Takumi's eyes widened as he realized the meaning of that thing. Takumi returned to Claire and her younger companion, Talura, with 2 small wrapped presents. He grew flustered and began to mumble, explaining that he felt they had been a huge help and that he wanted to show his appreciation. He thought the items would look perfect on them. Finally, he managed to ask, please accept them. Claire accepted her gift, and Takumi gave Talura hers. He told Claire he would try to be more casual with her, but he couldn't make any promises since he's gotten somewhat used to it, and hoped she liked the present. Claire opened her gift, a lovely hairpin, and gasped, oh my, it's so pretty. Takumi was visibly pleased by her reaction, saying he was glad she liked it. Claire, wearing the hairpin, immediately asked, how does she look? Takumi, smiling brightly, replied, adding that lovely hairpin makes her look even more beautiful. Claire blushed, exclaiming, she looks awful, an adorable misunderstanding of his compliment. Takumi watched her happy reaction and looked forward to the day when she would feel more at ease with him. The man who had spoken with Takumi watched the exchange with a sentimental expression, sighing, ah, to be young again. The young man's new life, surrounded by nobility, history, and his magnificent secret silver fenrir, was certainly a grand adventure. Takumi, dedicating himself to learning about his new world's plants, was engrossed in a book chock full of info on medicinal plants. After reading, he decided, all right, let's give this one a shot, indicating a specific plant illustration in the text. He approached Claire and politely requested permission, asking, Claire, may he use the garden? Claire initially assumed he wished to simply play with Ms. Leo. However, Takumi corrected her, stating his true intention, that he wanted to test out his gift. He further explained that he wanted to find out the types of plant he could grow by using his herb cultivation. hoping to cultivate useful herbs. Claire readily granted him access, telling him he saw. In that case, the space was his to use. Takumi began his experiment by focusing on the plant he had studied. The book described the low plant as having thick, jagged leaves and a jelly-like substance inside with healing properties. Takumi mused that it seemed strikingly similar to aloe vera from his homeworld. Noting how easily he could read the foreign script, he knelt down in the dirt, took a deep breath and concentrated, announcing, "Here he goes." As he held his hand over the soil and invoked herb cultivation, thick, serrated leaves erupted from the ground with the sounds of swoof swoop and shwoo. Claire, her companion, and Tellura watched in amazement as Takumi successfully grew a low plant. The young girl, Tellura, was ecstatic, crying out, "That was amazing, Takumi," while Leo let out a delighted "awoo." Claire's companion, observing the result, questioned Takumi if he was aware of what he chose to grow. Takumi confirmed he had seen Lo's entry in the book and noted its similarity to a plant in his home world. The gentleman then revealed the true potency of the Lo. A Lo's jelly is able to heal injuries in an instant, capable of healing a bone-deep gash without leaving a scar, though it was not effective against mortal wounds. He added that the Lo's native regions were unknown, and unlike its Earth counterpart, it was not known to grow in clusters, confirming its rarity and value in this world. A business proposal. The extraordinary nature of the Lo's healing power led to a discussion of its financial potential. Claire's guardian mentioned that the Libert family was grateful for any medicinal plant since they did not keep them in stock. Takumi, realizing the immense value of his gift, wondered how much a single Lo was worth. Claire's guardian informed him that one could probably buy a house after selling it. This revelation prompted Claire to ask if Takumi wished to open a store specializing in medicinal herbs. Takumi confirmed his desire to find a way to make some income because he couldn't stand the thought of just freeloading. Claire, in her capacity as a noble, immediately offered the Libert family's assistance. She proposed a partnership where Takumi could let the Libert family handle the logistics. Since the Duke's people would handle the selling and marketing, this would ensure that potential customers would not doubt the quality and authenticity of the goods. The Libert family's long history of excelling in commercial business, running all manner of businesses both domestic and foreign, would manage the operation. In return, Takumi would be compensated accordingly. She did, however, note that it would be unwise to grow only Lo's, as the market value would drop. Claire emphasized that the choice was ultimately Takumi's, stating, if he wished to open and manage the store by himself, she wouldn't stop him from doing so. Takumi, admitting his business sense was by no means excellent, and that the idea of owning a business did not truly intrigue him, happily agreed to the arrangement. Claire, worried about her father's obsessive search for suitors, insisted that they would first have to work out the details on the contract between him and them before meeting her father, hoping to deflect his absurd demands for a potential marriage. A mysterious leaf and a bathing interlude. After the business discussion, Takumi spent more time in the garden, rereading the book and testing his gift. While Tellura and Leo ran around the garden, Takumi grew curious about a plant that could relieve exhaustion. This imaginative thought led to the cultivation of a mysterious leaf he had never seen before and was not listed in the borrowed book. He set the leaf aside, deciding to think about it later. The next scene was a lighter one as Leo devoured a bowl of noodles, getting meat sauce smearing her face. Claire, observing the mess, announced that Ms. Leo was in dire need of cleaning. She affectionately scolded the dog, noting that those stains won't come off with a napkin and that her mouth was dirty. Takumi, laughing, took on the task of bathing the large dog. The bath was a loud, wet struggle with sounds of a woo, splash, and scrub. Takumi teased Leo, threatening, "Get ready." He was going to splash her. He worked diligently to clean her, noting she was pretty grimy, but eventually announced, "Okay, he was spotless now. Good job toughing it out, Leo." Afterward, Takumi took a relaxing bath himself in the oversized tub, praising the warm water for rejuvenating his body. He later emerged and asked the attendant if he could wipe Leo's body dry, to which the attendant readily agreed. Claire later commented on the dog's cleanliness, telling Takumi, "He did a wonderful job. Ms. Leo looks immaculate." Claire affectionately buried her face in the dog's fur, saying she loved how Ms. Leo's fur felt. "It's amazing." Takumi proudly agreed, "Yeah, Leo's fur is pretty, isn't it?" A quest into the forest. The scene concluded with Claire raising a new topic related to the silver fenrir lore. She brought up the forest where they met, which Takumi confirmed was the forest with Capwort. She then shared a legend that, once upon a time, The first head of the Libert family traveled through the forest, or so the legend goes. Claire then made a bold request, looking Takumi directly in the eyes. She asked, would he and Ms. Leo be willing to accompany her to the depths of that forest? The request suggested a new adventure was beginning, one that would delve into the secrets of the forest where Takumi and Leo first began their new life. After Claire made her bold request to explore the depths of the forest, the suggestion that Takumi and Ms. Leo should accompany her on such a dangerous venture shocked everyone present. Takumi himself was taken aback, asking her to come again. Claire's guardian, Sebastian, and the maids Layla and Gerda were equally alarmed, crying out, "Milady Claire!" Sensing their alarm, paused, murmuring, "Well, hold on, all of them." Sebastian immediately spoke up, apologizing for speaking out of turn, but stating he must speak his mind here. He argued that even with Mr. Takumi and Ms. Leo accompanying her, venturing into the Fenrir forest was far too reckless. Sebastian could not imagine anyone returning unharmed. Layla and Gerda seconded Sebastian's plea, urging, "Please." Milady Claire's curiosity was the driving force behind the request. She had explained that the first head of the Libert family supposedly met the silver Fenrir inside that forest. The question of how did the first head manage to become friends with a silver Fenrir remained a mystery to her as well. She further explained that there was a record of the head ending up surrounded by Fenrirs when the silver Fenrir appeared suddenly. The fact that nor was it written in the documents narrating half of the first head's life suggested that the answers might lie within the uncharted depths of the forest, which people fear and honor. Sebastian's opposition stemmed from his fear of the other creatures residing there. Claire reminded him that there were differences between Ms. Leo and regular Fenrirs. Although regular Fenrirs were not as powerful as silver Fenrirs, their fangs and claws aren't as sharp, and they were smaller in stature and not as swift. They were still dangerous. Their ability to command fire and ice magic made them a threat that humans would not be able to withstand. He stressed that regular Fenrirs were still far swifter than humans. Claire insisted that they would be going because a person related by blood to Claire became friends with a silver Fenrir. She saw Takumi's sudden arrival and Leo's transformation as fate, as if fate itself has willed this to happen. Takumi's decision and Leo's assurance. Claire cut off the loud arguing between her retainers, reminding them that she was asking for Takumi's input, not theirs. Sebastian, however, felt compelled to apologize to Claire for their inexcusable interruption. Claire then turned to Takumi, repeating her question that, would he be willing to accompany her to the forest? Takumi, noting that Claire doesn't seem like she'd take refusal lying down, scratched his head and requested, would she mind if he discussed this with Leo first? Claire immediately granted permission, saying, please, by all means. Takumi addressed Leo, informing her that Claire wants them to accompany her to the forest where they were. Leo responded with a quiet, okay. Takumi mused that she seemed to be saying, she doesn't see why not. He then raised Sebastian's concern that there's a chance a pack of Fenrirs will attack them deep inside that forest. Leo's subsequent vocalizations convinced Takumi that she possessed specific knowledge. He realized that Leo believed that silver Fenrirs are friends, so them being there won't be a problem, and that the other Fenrirs won't attack their own kin. Furthermore, Leo seemed confident that the other monsters in the forest were even weaker than those Fenrirs, and that she could still take them even if they can throw several packs at her. Takumi was momentarily stunned by his own realization that how was it that he was able to understand what she was saying, and how come Leo was so well versed on Fenrirs and silver Fenrirs? He quickly decided to move past this question, concluding that Leo was pretty much okay with them going to the forest with Claire. He returned to Claire, announcing, Claire, they've made up their mind. They'll be glad to accompany her to the forest. Claire was delighted, but Sebastian was still wary, asking if Takumi was sure of this. Takumi explained that he had talked it out with Leo. When pressed on his ability to understand Leo, he claimed, they've lived together long enough that he can sort of tell what she's saying. He proved his point by asking Leo to nod, which she did. Sebastian finally relented, convinced by the knowledge that Fenrirs are submissive towards silver Fenrirs on an instinctive level. He agreed to start making preparations tomorrow so that Claire, Takumi, and Ms. Leo could depart the day after. A strange leaf and unforeseen power. After the long discussion, Claire decided that they would have to call it a day. She informed Takumi that she would tell him and Ms. Leo what she was thinking about in the forest later, as she did not want Sebastian and the rest of the staff to hear it. Takumi, however, could not help but think about the forest and the memory of being stuck there, not to mention the presence of orcs. He felt a lingering suspicion about the area. He noticed Leo sniffing at a leaf he had set aside, a leaf he had somehow cultivated using herb cultivation. This leaf was unknown to him, not described in any book he had access to. He had only been imagining an herb for medicinal use. Before Takumi could stop her, Leo ate the leaf with a loud nom. Leo instantly seemed to be invigorated, surrounded by an aura of light and sound effects of glow and twinkle. When Takumi asked how she felt, Leo barked happily, communicating that it's like her tiredness just went away. She feels better than ever, and that she thought it made her stronger too. Takumi was astonished, realizing he thought he just cultivated something insane. He determined that he would need to conduct more trial and error in the garden. The excited Leo, now a bundle of energy, continued to jump and play, but Takumi insisted that they had a trip in 2 days, and it was bedtime. He allowed her to play for a little longer, but after that, it's bedtime. The party was preparing to leave the villa. Claire's guardian, Sebastian, was with them, much to Claire's annoyance, who exclaimed, "She couldn't believe him, Sebastian." Sebastian, standing near a carriage and speaking with the maids, explained that while Takumi and Miss Leo were reliable, there is safety in numbers. He announced that the guards would also be joining the expedition. Takumi, attempting to calm the tension, assured Claire he was sure he had her best interests in mind. With the final goodbyes exchanged, the group boarded the carriage, a vehicle pulled by several horses. However, Takumi, having been transported from a world without magic, was not worried about the carriage ride itself, but rather the nature of their conveyance. He asked Layla, one of the maids, about the duration of the journey to the forest, to which she estimated, say, around 3 hours. As they rode, Takumi found himself having to explain the primary mode of transport from his home world. After Layla asked what was the mode of transportation in his world, he described a device that could run on its own. How did it work? He explained that vehicles in his home world could move without horses drawing them. Sebastian and Layla were astounded to hear Takumi was implying his world was one without magic. Takumi explained that they made use of a metal crate that can run on its own, which required liquid fuel to power them. He elaborated that this fuel was burned to produce the necessary energy. Layla wondered if a metal crate wouldn't be too heavy to move, but Takumi assured her that they worked perfectly fine. He offered an explanation for this scientific advancement, that since they didn't have magic, they had to get creative with their technological advancements. Claire, clearly impressed by this explanation, exclaimed, "What marvelous craftsmanship!" Takumi inwardly recalled a famous quote, realizing that to someone in this magical world, such technology would appear indistinguishable from magic. He read in a book that any sufficiently advanced technology was indistinguishable from magic. To a layman like Layla, the inner workings of his world's technological wonders were no different from magic, fire magic, and forest preparations. Upon reaching a certain point, Sebastian announced that they had reached the end of the horses' journey, and he believed this was as far as their horses could go. The horses were tied to a tree and instructed to remain here until they returned to the spot. Layla, one of the maids, was instructed to begin making lunch. Sebastian asked Takumi to help the guards gather some branches for a fire. After Takumi and the guards returned with the wood, Leo, through her actions, indicated that she wanted to be the one to start the fire. Sebastian, intrigued, agreed that he certainly would not reject the chance to see a silver fenrir's magic. Leo then cast fire magic effortlessly, a display which Sebastian watched in awe, commenting on the surreal sight that to think the day would come when he would witness a silver fenrir casting something is awesome. Claire, who had seen the magical feat, was equally astonished, realizing, so that's how silver fenrirs cast their magic. After Leo successfully lit the fire, Layla thanked her for the service. After lunch, the guards and Claire prepared Takumi for the more dangerous trek into the forest. Claire's attendant handed him a sword, explaining that it was for precaution's sake. She rationalized the need for the weapon since they knew not what awaited them in the forest, and if nothing else, he could use it to cut ivies. Takumi, who had never held one before, politely accepted, saying, "Thank you." The group set off on foot, with Leo leading the way. Using her incredible sense of smell, Claire instructed everyone to press on until they found the river. The river would serve as a checkpoint before heading deeper. As they trekked, Takumi noticed that he could hear the sound of running water, meaning they were close to the river. However, the sounds were soon interrupted by a low, guttural growl from Leo. Takumi, sensing danger, anxiously asked, "Leo, what's got her growling?" Suddenly, a member of the expedition shouted the dire warning that they had an orc situation at hand. Another member immediately called out to Sebastian to stop advancing. The two armored guards drew their swords, declaring they would not allow a single finger to touch Milady. Takumi, realizing the danger, also pulled out his newly acquired sword, thinking to himself he should brandish his sword too. Then, the orcs appeared. With loud war cries and growls, three of the pig-like monsters burst onto the scene. The orcs were loud and menacing, emitting sounds like howling and growling differently. The battle was swift and decisive. Leo charged forward, knocking the orcs aside with immense force, described by the powerful sound effect of colliding. In the blink of an eye, the threat was neutralized. The entire party, including the guards and Takumi, were left speechless by the sheer power of the silver fenrir. Takumi eventually broke the silence, calling out Leo. He then pet the triumphant dog, telling her, "She did well, Leo." The silver fenrir responded with a contented AWO. The brief but terrifying encounter reinforced to everyone the immense and casual power Leo commanded, making their journey into the deeper, more dangerous parts of the Fenrir forest possible. The next scene began in the immediate aftermath of Ms. Leo's instantaneous defeat of the orcs. The powerful display of the silver Fenrir left the entire party, the Duke's guards, the maids, and even Claire in utter astonishment. One of the men was still reacting to the immense power, musing that he needed to rectify his foolish misconception that the orcs were serious threats, noting that silver Fenrirs are even stronger than he imagined. Another character expressed the sheer disbelief among the armed personnel. The guards were in total disbelief. Claire was equally stunned, stating that even seasoned warriors still considered orcs to be notable threats. As they stood over the defeated orcs, a new problem arose: what to do with the heavy carcasses? Takumi saw an opportunity to test the strange herb he had cultivated through pure coincidence just before their trip. He quickly plucked the mysterious herb, which looked like a common leaf, and offered it to the guards, suggesting that consuming it will make them carry the orc limbs with less trouble. The orcs were indeed considerable weight, and the guards were skeptical of consuming anything, especially given the herb's ghastly color. Despite their hesitation, one of the guards tried it. The taste, however, was surprisingly pleasant, likened to the flavor of a soft drink. To the group's absolute amazement, after consuming the leaf, the orc's body felt light as a feather now. This lightness was not limited to the one who ate the leaf. Another guard found his body feeling lighter. The effect was an instant success. Claire's companion, bewildered by the miraculous change, immediately asked Takumi, what exactly did he have them eat? Takumi, who was equally surprised by the potency of the effect, could only honestly confess that the particular herb was the product of pure coincidence. He knew only that it was just the result of trial and error from using herb cultivation. Claire, still fatigued by the journey, reminded Takumi that they were close to their first goal, urging him, just a bit more to go. Takumi reassured her that there was a river waiting for them. The party pressed on, aided by the lightness effect of the mysterious herb, and soon reached the riverside checkpoint. Claire, exhausted but relieved, sighed. Finally, she could take a break. Leo, however, full of her usual bounding energy, dashed off to explore the new terrain. The location was deemed a good campsite, a place by the river where they could be camping for the day. The guards immediately got to work, setting up the necessary tents. Once the tents were set up and dinner was eaten, Takumi and the group turned their attention to the serious business of setting up a night watch. The need for vigilance was real, as monsters could spring out at any moment in this forest. Takumi admitted that this was a concept that had kind of slipped his mind, since in his original world there was never any need for a night watch. Sebastian took charge of the planning, laying out the shifts. Each shift would be 3 hours. He suggested a starting rotation, but Takumi immediately volunteered for the first watch. Sebastian tried to discourage him, saying he needn't concern himself because he felt it would be more prudent because he had never done this before. Takumi, however, insisted on participating, arguing that although he wasn't accustomed to it, he was more than capable because he had Leo with him. Sebastian, conceding to his fierce determination, agreed to allow it. The first watch would be led by Mr. Takumi and Ms. Leo and would commence at 10 o'clock. Takumi calculated that this 3-hour shift was the equivalent of 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. in his world. Later that evening, Takumi and Leo settled into their watch shift. The immense canopy of the forest shaded the small camp from the majority of the ambient light, allowing the stars to shine clearly overhead. Takumi sat by the fire that Leo had magically started earlier. He felt a lingering sense of concern for Claire, thinking, if only there were something he could do to help Claire. About an hour into his shift, just as he was noting that he had 1 more hour to go, he noticed Claire approaching the fire. She looked at him quietly, and Takumi offered her a place to sit. May she sit beside him? Claire thanked him and settled down beside the warm fire. Claire then broke the comfortable silence, admitting that she had sought him out because she wished to discuss with him. She reminded him of the secret she had not yet shared with the others. She thought it was just something she'd rather not let Sebastian and the rest hear this. with Claire joining Takumi by the campfire during his night watch, following her dramatic announcement that she wished to discuss something with him. The conversation began with Claire expressing her gratitude for him accompanying her, saying, "Thank you for all the things and for bringing her to the woods." Takumi, downplaying his contribution, assured her not to worry, stating he was interested in coming here too. However, Claire persisted, wanting to get something off her chest. She apologized profusely, saying she was very sorry about it, Claire's guilt and Takumi's forgiveness. She explained the circumstances surrounding her initial request for him to join the expedition. When she first asked Takumi and Leo to come with her to the woods, Sebastian had scolded her. The faithful guardian explained that because dukes are the highest-ranking nobles, their family is strictly prohibited from issuing orders without a reason. Furthermore, Sebastian had explained that she had asked in a way that made it difficult for him to refuse, despite the fact that they had only just met. Claire admitted that she felt tremendous guilt for imposing upon him, saying, regardless, she imposed on him. She felt that as a member of a duke's household, she shouldn't have done that. Takumi, ever the understanding and easygoing person, was quick to absolve her of blame. He dismissed the imposition, saying he was not the type to say no when someone asks for help. With the tension broken, Takumi proposed a trade. How about an exchange, he suggested. She tells him why she wanted to come to the woods. After that, they would be even. Claire revealed that her true reason was tied to the ancient legend of the silver fenrir. She confessed she was not actually interested in the woods themselves, but rather, she was interested in the silver fenrir. The rumor began when she was born. The servants believed that Claire might be the reincarnation of the Libert family's first head. This belief was born out of her physical resemblance to the family's founder. The first head's life was chronicled in paintings. Claire recalled seeing one painted shortly after the first head's birth and noted that she looked just as she did. Takumi noted that the first head was a woman. As Claire grew up to look exactly like her paintings, the belief solidified. The first head was remembered as a fearless warrior who scattered the enemy forces on the battlefield. Naturally, the servants expected Claire, as the supposed reincarnation, to bring prosperity to the Libert family. Claire's father, the current duke, did not share this belief. He didn't believe it and encouraged Claire not to believe it either. He firmly stated that she didn't need to act like the first head and that she could live according to her own beliefs. Claire expressed her gratitude for her father's unconditional support, feeling that thanks to her father, she could grow up being herself. Despite her father's guidance and her desire to be herself, the legacy of the family's ancient ally was impossible to ignore. Claire confessed the truth of her personal fascination with the quest. For whatever reason, hearing about the silver fenrirs makes her heart race. The inexplicable connection to the legendary creatures was the real driving force behind her risky exploration of the Fenrir forest, and why she felt such a strong compulsion to seek out her family's ancient history with the aid of a living silver fenrir, Leo. The scene continued with the late-night conversation between Claire and Takumi by the campfire, where Claire had revealed her personal fascination with silver fenrirs. Claire expanded on this deep-seated interest, explaining that whenever the subject of the silver fenrir came up, she simply feels these emotions rising within her. She felt compelled to understand the meaning of these intense feelings. Her belief was that the only way to seek that understanding was to venture into the woods where it said the first head came across a silver fenrir. The journey was not about finding a treasure or fulfilling a duty. It was a personal quest for internal clarity. Takumi, absorbing the sincerity of her confession, asked a poignant question about her determination. If they search the woods and never come across one, so be it. He asked, would she just give up? Claire confirmed her resolve, simply saying, yes. This implied that the search was about the effort and the potential for a personal revelation, not necessarily the guarantee of a specific outcome. Takumi was genuinely touched and glad to know what was on her mind. Claire apologized for revealing too much, but humbly asked Takumi and Leo to keep her secret from the others. Takumi, understanding the deeply personal nature of her search, vowed that he would never tell a soul. As the conversation drew to a close, Sebastian was heard stirring nearby. Takumi, remembering his duty, suggested that they should turn in, but not before offering Claire some help. He gave her a handful of the miraculous leaves he had accidentally cultivated the day before, telling her to please try eating these before sleeping. Claire asked what they were, and Takumi explained that consuming them would ensure she had a good night's rest and will feel refreshed. She quickly realized they were grown through herb cultivation as well. Claire thanked him and promised to learn more about his research later. The next morning, the party prepared to continue their journey deeper into the woods. Takumi, feeling perfectly rested, was energetic. Yeah, well, everyone, let's go. He explained that he felt noticeably better than the previous day. Sebastian, Layla, and a guard named Johanna would be the ones to follow the river deeper into the woods, along with Takumi, Claire, and Leo. Two other guards, Philip and Nicola, were instructed to remain at the campsite and watch the horses. The initial trek was challenging. As they moved deeper, the forest grew darker, making it difficult to see where one is stepping. Sebastian, noticing Takumi's struggle, cast a subtle light around his hand, a small feat of magic, prompting Takumi to realize he was using magic. Sebastian confirmed it was merely a low-level light spell, but immediately reminded Takumi to preserve his mana. Impressed by the practicality of the spell, Takumi commented that it was how handy. Sebastian then made an offer. If he practiced, he'll be able to do it too, Mr. Takumi. This sparked a playful argument between Claire and Sebastian over who was the more suitable instructor. Claire excitedly volunteered she'd studied as well. She could teach him. Sebastian argued that he was more suited because he was the one who taught Claire the fundamentals of magic. Takumi, realizing he had two high-ranking nobles eager to teach him magic, accepted their offer. He could do that. The impasse and a sudden idea. For 3 full days, the group continued their search, but by the end of day 3 of searching and day 4 since entering the woods, they hadn't turned up anything at all so far. Sitting around the evening fire, the reality of their fruitless quest set in. Sebastian pointed out that the wearier they became, the more dangerous the search would be. Claire, acknowledging the weariness and the danger, reluctantly concluded, "Then let's give up and return to the manor." She thanked everyone for humoring her whims. Takumi watched her, realizing that everyone in the party likely knew about her rumors and probably wanted to help ease her worries. Takumi felt a rising frustration, thinking that he wished he could do something, lamenting that at this rate, they'll actually go back home empty-handed. He turned to Leo for help, asking, what should they do now? Then, a brilliant idea struck him. He realized the untapped potential of his gift. He got it. He had herb cultivation all along. He needed Leo's help. He held out his hand and requested for Leo's paw. Takumi had conceived a new plan, one that would leverage his unique gift and Leo's silver fenrir powers to finally achieve their goal. After Takumi realized that his herb cultivation gift could be the key to their search, he explained to Leo that he had overlooked the most important resource at their disposal, his ability to cultivate unique herbs. He quickly realized he could create an herb that would help everyone cope with fatigue, making their stalled search significantly easier. He apologized for not thinking of it sooner, when they were running out of time. Takumi placed his hand on Leo's paw and asked her to lend him her mana. He concentrated deeply, and a flash of light radiated from their hands as the mana flowed into the earth. In an instant, the ground before them erupted in a dense patch of cultivated herbs, growing rapidly with a sound effect described as sprout. He broke off a sprig of the freshly grown herb and immediately offered it to the group. The herb worked instantaneously. One of the guards exclaimed that he felt so refreshed and ready for a training session right now. Takumi, pleased with the result, commented that he was glad it worked. The herb had a more profound effect than just alleviating fatigue. When Takumi asked Claire to see deep into the woods, she noticed that the trees and the terrain looked surprisingly bright, even in the dim forest light. Takumi revealed that this was the effect of the first herb he had created, which improved their eyes, allowing them to see their surroundings even in low light. Next, Claire noticed that her hearing seemed vastly improved, with a cacophony of chirps and squeaks suddenly audible, described by sound effects like cheep-cheep and scree-scree. Takumi explained that this was the effect of a second herb. This second herb greatly improved their hearing and awareness of their surroundings. Claire realized the incredible utility of Takumi's gift, marveling that she could even sense and hear the creatures in the woods. With their senses heightened, the party resumed their search, convinced that if there was a fenrir nearby, they would be able to find it immediately. However, the sun was setting, and Sebastian warned Claire that the sun was setting soon. Suddenly, Leo stopped and let out a menacing grr sound. Before anyone could fully process the threat, Leo began growling again, and Takumi realized what her movements meant. Monsters are fighting up ahead. Leo barked excitedly, and Takumi felt an urgency to investigate. Sebastian was in disbelief, questioning the situation. He couldn't believe there really was a fenrir here. He noted that his senses were not as keen as Leo's, and he hadn't sensed it quite yet, though. Takumi, however, could hear the sounds of a struggle and recognized a fenrir's distinct cries. He quickly asked Leo if there were any monsters in the woods capable of attacking a fenrir, and realizing the severity of the fight, decided to intervene. Based on Leo's description, Takumi believed the attacking monsters were trolls. He described them as giants, over 3 meters tall. Though troids should be weaker than a fenrir, the sheer numbers could pose a problem. Claire did not hesitate. They needed everyone to go save the fenrir. Sebastian, worried about the danger, expressed his opposition. The party couldn't possibly fight against 5 troids. Claire, however, was resolute, turning to Leo and telling her that she was counting on her. Takumi directed Leo, urging her to go ahead of them. Leo took off like a shot, a brilliant blur that disappeared into the forest with loud zoosh sound effects. The rescue and the wounded fenrir. Thanks to the combined effect of the herbs and Leo's incredible speed, Takumi was able to keep track of the fight using his enhanced hearing and sight. He could hear the sounds of battle and the fast movements of Leo. He mentally cheered her on. She was amazing, Leo. Leo soon reappeared, slowing to a stop, prompting Takumi to ask, "What's wrong?" Leo led them to the scene of the fight. They found a place where the ground was scorched, still emitting a sizz sound, indicating the use of powerful magic. The battle was clearly over, but the object of their quest lay injured before them. Takumi rushed to see what happened to the fenrir. The group found a heavily injured, exhausted, and barely moving regular fenrir. The injured creature was dark and clearly distressed, whimpering and panting as Leo watched over it. The party had finally found a fenrir, but it was badly wounded and in dire need of aid. Takumi and the group stood over the grievously injured fenrir puppy, a casualty of the troll attack. Claire immediately recognized the gravity of the situation, exclaiming, "This is awful," and asking Sebastian, what did he think it would take. Sebastian, examining the wounds, regretfully concluded that he was no doctor, and sadly surmised that the party was a little too late, making their way over. He believed the young fenrir doesn't have long. Sebastian suggested that even their existing miracle herb, the lo, would not be enough. He believed these wounds are beyond the help of lo. Takumi, however, was spurred to action by the desperate situation. He realized that if the lo could heal deep cuts, maybe he could cultivate something even more potent. He took a position near the ground and, using the lo as a reference, focused his mind. He aimed to create an herb that can heal a mortal wound in an instant. The intense concentration of his herb cultivation power caused a bright glue around him. The resulting herb was a transparent, shimmering, jelly-like substance. Takumi quickly encased the substance in a leaf and hurried to administer it to the wounded pup. He gently scooped the liquid out of the makeshift wrapper and carefully swiped the concoction onto the fenrir's wounds. The effect was immediate and astonishing. The dark, lifeless fenrir suddenly gave a gasp of breath. Sebastian, observing the immediate recovery, was completely stunned, exclaiming, "Mr. Takumi, it's made a complete recovery." He examined the creature and confirmed that its wounds are healed. Claire, filled with relief, cheered, "He was amazing, Takumi," while Leo joyfully barked. A relieved Takumi dismissed his feat as luck, saying, "He just got lucky giving it a try." Sebastian mused, noting that an herb capable of healing mortal wounds actually exists. With the immediate danger past, the injured fenrir fell into a deep sleep, clearly needing rest to regain its strength. Sebastian suggested they should keep the creature warm. They noted that based on its size, the creature appeared to be a pup that may have been separated from its pack and then attacked by the troids. The question of what to do with the pup arose. Claire's guardian determined they should be getting back soon since the search was over. However, Leo began barking urgently at Takumi, clearly indicating her feelings. Takumi translated Leo's clear desire to the group. "Leo, she wants to bring the fenrir back with them." Sebastian immediately objected, arguing that fenrirs are typically ferocious beasts, and taking it with them would expose it to another attack. Claire, however, wholeheartedly supported Leo and Takumi. She thought they should too. Takumi countered Sebastian's concerns by reminding him of their earlier discussion about the innate hierarchy. He remembered they talked with Leo before they headed into the woods. He confirmed that Leo was fine with taking the pup, and that she also said that fenrirs always submit to silver fenrirs. Sebastian reluctantly conceded the point. He supposed then they may take it back and keep an eye on it. Claire happily thanked Sebastian, who added 2 strict conditions: the injured fenrir would need to be considered hostile if it posed a threat, and Ms. Leo will need to keep a close eye on it. The group returned to the main campsite, where the other guards were waiting. Claire was proudly holding the small fenrir pup. The guards were shocked, asking if the creature in her arms was what they thought it was. Claire explained that Ms. Leo saved it while it was being attacked by troids. They noticed the pup starting to wake up. It was immediately terrified, shuddering at the sight of the humans. Claire gently reassured it. "It's all right. Ms. Leo wouldn't attack him." The terrified pup began to bark nervously until Leo approached it, and the two began to have a conversation. With the quest successful, they knew now that fenrirs do live in these woods, and a new companion in tow, the party prepared to leave the forest. Takumi felt a sense of amazement at the turn of events. First a silver fenrir and herb cultivation, and now a fenrir puppy. He realized that his easygoing life is not in the cards but seemed to take the continuous chaos in stride, smiling and musing that things doesn't look like it will take a turn. After that, they all got out of the wood forest. Seeing them, Philip got happy and asked if they all felt fine. He saw another small fenrir and looked at it in confusion. Sebastian shared they got a fenrir puppy and that it's not dangerous at all, so he should not worry. When it was time to sit in the carriage, Takumi thought that the carriage was too small for all of them, so he told Claire he would go with Leo. But suddenly the fenrir puppy jumped towards him and started licking him, which shows it wanted to go with Takumi, so Claire asked him to come with them. Takumi agreed, but had a bit of doubt. To his rescue, at that time Leo offered Layla a ride on her. Seeing this, Layla got surprised and confusedly asked Takumi if this was okay. He responded yes, as Leo said it was all right. After that, they started heading their way back. On the way, Claire asked if Takumi was now fine and liked the spot he was sitting in. Takumi responded with a yes. He then remembered the time when Leo liked to fit between the sofa's legs. In some time, they finally got back to their mansion. At that time, Leo went to the other side and started howling. Seeing this, everyone got confused as to what was happening. The more confusing thing is, the fenrir puppy also starts howling. After some seconds, both stopped howling. Seeing this, everyone was wondering what was going on. Sebastian was nervous at first, but now okay as it was Leo's voice. Takumi decided to ask about it, and in his inquiry, he found that Leo told the fenrir puppy that this was his area and he was welcoming him, and the fenrir baby agreed to it. Claire realized that it was some kind of fenrir custom or event, and so Takumi was also happy that Leo was happy. Upon entering inside the mansion, Gelda welcomed them, but Claire asked her to stay quiet, otherwise the baby fenrir would wake up. Tellura also came there shouting and welcoming and was surprised to see the cub. She wanted to play with it, but Claire denied. Then Claire went inside, and Takumi went for changing clothes, asking Gelda to make some tea for them. After some time, they got back in the hall, and Gelda was ready with tea for them. He sipped the tea and praised the taste of the tea. By that time, Claire and Tellura also came there. Claire thanked Takumi for the help and work he did in the forest. Takumi saw the fenrir puppy was awake now and ran towards Leo for playing. Claire shared that it woke up once she got back in her chamber. Suddenly, she started giggling. Seeing this, he asked what was wrong. She shared that once the fenrir puppy woke up and saw the room, he got very surprised being indoors. So he explored everywhere, which she felt was very adorable. After that, she asked if he would tell her about his testing now and what he was doing. He was then thinking of how to explain it, but suddenly his sight was blurring, and he passed out. After some moment when Takumi woke up, he felt like his head was swelling. But upon looking, he first saw Sebastian, Claire, and Leo gathered around him. Sebastian told the scenario, and Takumi remembered he was right in the middle of a talk. Before Takumi could speak, Leo started licking him out of happiness. He tried to make her stop, but Leo kept on going. Claire then asked if he could move. He responded yes. Then they both talked over what happened. Takumi shared that his sight suddenly blurred, and he blacked out right away. Sebastian, in between, told that the reason Takumi fainted could be because of his own special gift. Takumi confusingly asked him how. Sebastian shared that a gift user can lose consciousness from using the gift too much, but still, there is disagreement on if it depends on the gift or the person. Takumi was still confused, so Sebastian shared that Takumi may have some extra powers, and that led to him fainting out. They had a deep talk about it. As the longer the gift stays active, the larger the toll on the person. It's all been just a guess till now, so it could also be that Takumi's special energy growth made him faint. Sebastian shared that after Takumi fainted, the fenrir puppy went all limp and stopped moving. He came up with a theory that the herb had not completely healed the fenrir puppy, so it started working again in the hall, and that is why Takumi fainted out of it. He asked Takumi to stop growing things for a while, but Takumi thought that he just needs to avoid growing anything with a lasting effect. Claire shouted, asking him to not push himself so hard. She then asked him again about his tests. He shared that while growing new things and everything, he put that new leaf in his room and did nothing else with it. Leo ended up eating it, and after which Leo had a rush of new energy, so Leo felt much better. Claire understood that it's the same as the herb he gave them in the forest, due to which he realized that he needs to focus on the effect also, as before this, he was only focused on its looks. Sebastian asked if Takumi meant that he just wished for the plant, and it appeared. Takumi said yes. Hearing it, Claire got excited, but Sebastian asked Takumi to think about the trouble from the plants with lasting effects. Takumi agreed and then said that he would make herbs that Claire could sell. He cleared that he would do it as long as he wasn't in any danger. So if she was ready, then he agreed for a deal. She thanked Takumi and thought to tell her father about this. But the problem is that she had to deal with marriage offers. After this, Takumi asked if they thought about the Fenrir puppy's name. Claire first thought to check the Fenrir puppy to see if it was a boy or a girl. On checking, they found that it was a girl. Sebastian suggested a name, but she did not like it. Suddenly she got a name and shared that she would call the Fenrir puppy Sherry, which means one who is loved. Sherry started to smile upon hearing her name. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Sherry began glowing, seeing which, everyone took one step back. When the light got a little low, Claire looked at Sherry with confusion. Takumi asked if Leo knew what just happened. Leo said no. Sebastian asked if it was possible that Sherry formed a familiar contract, as he heard in the past that at the time of giving a name, when the monsters accept it, a familiar deal takes place. Claire asked Sherry if she became her close partner. Sherry smiled. Sebastian said congratulations to her. Claire thanked Takumi, as without him it would not be possible. First, he was not accepting the thanks, but soon he smiled seeing Sherry being so happy for being saved. The scene shifted to the next day, where Takumi saw the houseworkers looking very worried. He asked Claire about Tellura, as she was not looking around. She told that Tellura was sleeping because she woke up late last night. She also shared that something big was happening, as their father was arriving in the evening. Sebastian shared that maybe her father was coming to check on her health. Takumi looked confused. Sebastian asked if Takumi remembered the first day, when Claire went for searching herbs. Her father was worried. Upon returning, they sent a message, but it looks like the message did not get delivered. Takumi then asked Claire why she looked so serious about her father coming. She told that she was worried about the proposals that her father was bringing. He asked if she was planning to turn them all down. She shouted yes, as Tellura is too young for having a fiancé, and so is she. Moreover, Takumi also had to meet their father for the talk about the agreement to sell herbs. Takumi was confused about proper manners. She asked him not to worry as her father wouldn't mind things. Takumi now wondered about her father's nature. After that, when Tellura came and they told her about it, she froze up. Then they had dinner and everyone went for making plans of how to reject the proposals. Till that, Takumi asked Layla about the proper clothes, as if it was all right for him to wear his usual clothes when meeting Mr. Duke. Layla made him remember about the clothes he has in Rakdos. He decided to go and get them. Layla also rode with him toward the place, as she was asked to look after Takumi. They reached the shop, and upon entering, the shop worker told them about his clothes. He then got back to the mansion, and at the gate Claire and Sebastian welcomed him, but told him that Mr. Duke already arrived. They all decided to do as they planned. They all said hello to Mr. Duke named Eckenhart, and he responded with a smile. Claire also said hello to Mr. Duke and apologized for causing him trouble. Eckenhart got happy and excited to see both his daughters. He even praised them that they got more pretty with time. Sebastian then asked about the letter. Eckenhart shared that he got that on the way, so he still decided to check on his daughters. Eckenhart then asked about Takumi. Sebastian shared that Takumi is the one who saved Claire. Hearing this, Eckenhart got happy and started patting, or more like slapping, on his back. He even praised Takumi for staying calm even after that hard slap. Suddenly Leo came there, seeing which Eckenhart started bowing down in front of Takumi and asked his daughters why they were standing in front of a noble being. Both Takumi and Leo were confused, while Claire asked Eckenhart to stand up. They asked Eckenhart to relax, as they would talk about it in more detail later. Till that, Sherry also came there, and he got confused and said that it looked like they needed to discuss more things. The scene then shifted to some time later, where Eckenhart got to know everything. He asked if Takumi was sure that Leo wouldn't attack anyone. Takumi said yes, as there was no need to worry. Eckenhart greeted Leo, and then asked everyone to get back to the topic of marriage. The daughters were not happy to hear it, while Takumi asked Eckenhart the reason for him being so pushy about having a marriage talk. Eckenhart shared that it was Claire who asked for this. Hearing this, everyone got shocked. He continued telling that 10 years ago, Claire wanted to know about their family head, and upon finding out she had an arranged wedding, Claire also insisted on having an arranged marriage. Claire didn't remember this, but he was sure about it, and shared more of Claire's childish actions. Eckenhart shared that maybe Claire got sad after their mother passed away, but Tellura did not remember anything. Eckenhart shared that Mrs. Duke always had poor health. That's why she had trouble while having Claire, and it was being managed. But she passed away at the time of Tellura's birth. Her name was A, and she was very happy because she had two beautiful daughters. Claire started crying. and said sorry to her father for doing all of this. He then asked if they should pretend that he never brought up marriage. Claire responded that she would like to choose her partner on her own. Talura also shouted the same. He agreed, and then told that he thought of teaching them how to handle men, but it looks like they grew into fine young ladies and likely don't need that lesson. Claire was surprised, but she suddenly went to say something and started blushing seeing Takumi. Takumi got confused, whereas Eckenhart was smiling. She got embarrassed and shouted that it was nothing. He then asked Sebastian about a room, as he wanted to rest. But Sebastian said that there's something more to discuss, and that's Takumi's gift. Eckenhart asked if Takumi's gift was growing plants, right? Takumi thought of explaining so he could get the agreement, but before that, Claire started explaining it. Hearing about the special energy, Eckenhart got startled and shocked. He confirmed if they meant that high-quality plant. She responded yes, and that he can make all sorts of great plants as well. Sebastian shared that Takumi even made plants they had never seen before. They even tested how, well, they worked. Eckenhart realized how strong those plants were, and so he asked what they wanted. Claire shared that they were hoping to have a sales deal with Takumi, and Takumi also wanted to do it, as they would have the benefit of selling it under the ducal family name. Eckenhart confirmed this with Takumi, asking if this was all good, but he couldn't agree to a deal the other person didn't want. Takumi shared that he already knew the good and bad sides of the agreement, but he wasn't just looking for a deal that was all good. He just hoped for his gift to be helpful. Eckenhart started to laugh and shared that he didn't know that Takumi had the nerve to say all that, while looking right at them. So they finally made a deal over the sales. Takumi and Eckenhart said hello and shook hands happily. Everyone went to their room, Takumi happy that the talk went well. He even thought that Eckenhart was kind. Leo started to lick and play with Takumi. Takumi saw that Leo had gotten very dirty. Hearing this, Leo got worried, as she realized it was bath time. She was very unhappy with that bathing choice. Suddenly, Sebastian came there. Seeing this, Takumi asked what the matter was. Sebastian gave him the contract. Seeing it, Takumi was first curious about how he could read it being another language. Sebastian shared about the money and his share of the earnings. Takumi agreed and told that he would read it. Till that, Eckenhart also came there, bowing down in front of Takumi. He thanked Takumi for saving his daughters. Takumi said that it was Leo who saved them, and he accidentally fed Talura that plant. Still, Eckenhart thanked Takumi, as nothing can change those facts. He then asked if Mrs. Leo was angry, but Takumi laughed and responded with a no. Sebastian tried to help Eckenhart, but Eckenhart just wanted to be sure of not being out of place. At the dinner table, Eckenhart asked if Takumi was able to read the agreement. Takumi said yes and told that he had some questions about it. Then they had a talk over it and came to an agreement. Claire shared that she and Sebastian decided on the terms of this agreement, though their father looked it over. They really had an edge from this, as because of Takumi's gift, they don't need to worry about quality and amount. Eckenhart now wondered about others talking about Takumi after it becomes known. Takumi said that there's one thing he wants to add in the deal, and that's if he could live longer in their house. He got nervous seeing everyone was shocked, but suddenly Eckenhart started laughing. Eckenhart told Takumi to stay as long as he wants. Sebastian asked if they needed to add it to the contract. Eckenhart denied and told that with or without the deal, Takumi can stay until he wants. Takumi surprisingly asked if they were sure. They responded with an, "Of course," after which Takumi signed on the contract. Then Takumi went toward the bathroom to wash Leo. Eckenhart then showed his wish to see Takumi's gift power. Takumi got an order form in which it listed the plants he needed to grow. He saw that one plant cutting was worth 5 gold. He decided to ask about the money later, and first asked the reason for a small list. They shared that they would work carefully so he didn't get too tired. Takumi was very pleased by this. In the next scene, Takumi was with Eckenhart and was going to show his growing skills. Takumi went near a plant and started using his power, and in some moments that plant grew very big and was fully grown. Seeing this, Eckenhart was amazed. In some minutes, Takumi finished the order list. Claire asked about Takumi's health, whereas Eckenhart was surprised seeing the plant got grown so easily. He thanked Takumi for it. Deep down, Takumi was happy as he would be able to do this for the people helping him stay. Sebastian came and said that the order was completed. Takumi was then going to pick the plants. Eckenhart surprisingly asked if Takumi could do that too. Takumi said yes, as it will be more helpful for them. While everything was done, Eckenhart asked if Takumi could use a sword. Takumi denied, as he did not know much about weapons. Eckenhart then suggested Takumi to learn enough for self-protection. as he would not always be with Leo, and after being successful, he could be targeted. Takumi asked if that was true. Eckenhart responded that anyone would want the special gift for themselves, and information can leak somehow, no matter how much they protect. Takumi, confused, asked if it was all for some plants. Eckenhart shared that in their country, everyone was forced to rely on plants and medicine, and the plant he grew isn't easy to grow at all. Moreover, some people want to grow poison, so they would surely want to get him, and some can even see him as a threat. Takumi understood everything and decided to do it. So he asked Eckenhart how he could use weapons. Eckenhart decided to teach sword fighting to Takumi. Claire shared that her father has strange habits, as whenever he saw someone talented, he wants to teach them. Sebastian praised Eckenhart for being a great sword fighter. Till that, Eckenhart came near Takumi and said that swords are the base of all weapons. Before Takumi could speak, Eckenhart shouted that they would start the lesson right away. But Claire interrupted, saying that Takumi just used his gift, and it can be dangerous for him to train now. Eckenhart understood, as Takumi once fainted due to using too much. They decided to do it on another day, as it would be better. After getting back inside, Takumi was happy that he would try his best to learn sword fighting. Till that, Sebastian came there and brought a sword for Takumi. Takumi asked if it was the same sword he got in the forest. Sebastian said yes. He even gave money to Takumi, telling him that it's the payment for the plants he had grown. Takumi opened the small bag and saw many coins, but he didn't know about them. So he asked if Sebastian could teach him about the coins. Sebastian then shared that the lowest one was the iron coin. Then 100 iron coins would be equal to 1 copper coin. The 100 copper coins is equal to a silver coin. Lastly, 10 silver coins is equal to 1 gold coin. He suggested Takumi to use silver coins for most dealings, as there would be trouble getting change while spending gold coins. Takumi then thought about how much the money was worth compared to Japanese yen, and lastly he figured that he got 5.5 million. Takumi then asked the house rate, and he found that a normal house can be bought for 5 to 10 gold coins. Sebastian asked if Takumi wanted more, but Takumi denied. Takumi then asked the amount of money they spent in buying things in Rakdos. Sebastian tried to ignore it, but Takumi was firm about fully giving the cost to him. After that, Sebastian told them about dinner and left from there. Takumi was worried, wondering about the plants being scary. On the dinner table, Tellura nervously asked if she could also join them in sword fighting lessons. Eckenhart wanted to know the reason. Tellura shouted that it's because she wants to have a familiar, so she needs to fight for it. Claire made Tellura understand that it wouldn't be worth it, as Sherry is with her, because Leo and Takumi were there. Eckenhart denied the offer, as he wouldn't let her practice just for getting a familiar. Tellura shared that she wasn't sure why, but she wanted it very much. Eckenhart told her that she is just like Claire. He warned her that sword training isn't fun or a game, as she could get hurt doing it. Tellura responded that she was okay with that. Eckenhart then agreed for her to learn the sword fighting, as he would teach her also. She got happy and hugged him. Claire then came near Tellura and told her that she needs to keep up with studies while training. In the morning, Takumi woke up early. But to his surprise, Tellura came there and said that Sherry hadn't woken up yet. Leo too, so they started talking, as Tellura shared that she was nervous about training. Takumi said that he was nervous too, and it's because this is their first time. They had a laughing session. Until that, Leo also woke up. The scene then shifted to the training time, where Eckenhart first went for telling how to hold a sword. Both easily held the swords, after which he asked them to swing it by showing a guide. He asked them to follow through with the blade's cutting edge. Tellura tried to do the same, but she hit the ground and her sword got broken, and she felt a little hurt too. Eckenhart shouted at her for not using it correctly. After that, they continued practicing, and in some minutes they were gasping for air. He added that it looked like their swords were using them rather than the other way around. So he told them to first focus on building physical strength. After that, they started simple training like push-ups, squats, sit-ups, and back extensions. Later, running also. And lastly, they got totally tired. Takumi then asked that he wanted to try making something using his plant powers. So he asked if it was okay. Eckenhart agreed for it if it wouldn't get in the way of training. Takumi started growing some plants. Tellura asked about it, and he shared that it's a plant for them to make them feel less tired. Eckenhart was surprised, whereas Tellura ate it and felt disgusted by the taste. But in some seconds, she started feeling great, as she could do it again. Eckenhart said that it's good, as now they would be able to do more hard work. Seeing this, both Tellura and Takumi got shocked. After that, they had double the basic training and also the sword swinging practice. The scene then shifted to some days later, where Takumi was lying on the ground. Claire came near him and asked if he was all right. He was covered in a lot of sweat. Suddenly, she asked if he was sure about doing this, as she couldn't stop her father, but whether he really wanted to learn. She told him the good points of having guards and everything, as how he wouldn't need to worry then and feel better also. Takumi was now stressed about how to tell her about this, as she was worrying about him too much. Takumi told her that he would not quit sword fighting even though he could hire guards. But then he would bother too many people, and he also didn't want Leo to always help him. She said that it's not bothering anyone at all, and it wouldn't be strange as Leo is the strongest creature in existence. Takumi started sharing about him and Leo, as he was the one who took care of her before. Moreover, he could say that they both looked out for each other. So, if Leo is the one always protecting him, then they are not true partners. And she isn't his familiar, as he cannot give her orders. He didn't want to boss Leo around, but at least he wanted to protect himself somehow. He asked her not to tell Eckhardt about this, otherwise the strength of training would increase. Hearing about the secret thing between only the two of them, she started blushing very deeply. She then decided to cheer him up for the time being. Till that, Tellura shouted that their break was over. Claire was motivated by him and was going to study different things about what she could do for the ducal family. He decided to do his best job and ran towards the customer. The scene then shifted to several days later, where Takumi was seen surprisingly asking about the fake fight. Eckhardt shared that they would fight with him using their swords, and he will try to hit back as well. Claire nervously asked if Eckhardt was sure about this. He asked her not to worry, as he would hold his power back. He ordered Takumi to attack first. Takumi gathered up his courage and ran toward Eckhardt to swing the sword, but he missed the shot very easily. Before Takumi could understand and do something else, he got touched by Eckhardt. Eckhardt shared that if Takumi dropped his sword, then he is open for attack, and with that, they are certainly gone. Takumi was going to thank Eckhardt, but suddenly Leo came there, growling loudly. Leo was looking fiercely at Eckhardt. Takumi wondered if she came thinking that he was actually being hurt. He shouted and asked Leo to wait, as Eckhardt was just practicing. Eckhardt then confirmed if everything was okay. He said that it's the fenrir. Eckhardt started bowing down in front of the fenrir, asking for forgiveness. Claire came there and shared that Leo was right beside her, but suddenly she saw that Leo was near her father. Eckhardt got why everyone called the fenrir a legend that appears alongside a guest of the wind. Takumi smiled as he knew that Leo was trying to help her, so he thanked Leo for it. Till that, Tellura also lost the practice fight, and Eckhardt closed the day. Eckhardt then shared that now he is a busy person, so it would be his last day coming. So he would give them a training plan, and they need to make sure to stick to it. Eckhardt was getting ready to go back and was asking Sebastian to give him the plants Takumi grew, as he would take it home somewhere. He even asked to sell the plants in Raktos first. Sebastian agreed, as Raktos is a travel center, so spreading the word about it would be easy. Claire asked if they were using the family shop. So like that the family was having a conversation. But Takumi was silent, thinking that he didn't know much about the new place, so he wouldn't join in the talk. Suddenly, out of nowhere, he thought something and asked Claire if he could take sausages for later. Claire asked the reason. He shared that he would train Leo on patience regarding the day before. Eckhardt was also embarrassed for not even being able to react in that situation. Takumi felt nervous because he knows that if Leo goes wild, then it would be a disaster. Claire showed her wish of letting Sherry join them also, whereas Eckhardt wanted to see the discipline training. They all then went to the backyard. He told both the Fenrirs that they were going to bring some sausages, but they can't jump on them as soon as they arrived. Eckhardt went to fry the sausages using firepower, but before they could, Leo saw it and ran toward it to eat. In an instant, she ate those sausages without anyone seeing. Everyone was surprised that the sausages were already gone. Takumi shouted at Leo as she didn't wait and even passed up Sherry. Leo started making cute sounds, but Takumi did not get swayed by it. He again told Leo that she can't let delicious smells tempt her. The training started again, and this time the Fenrirs were trying their best to not look. But Leo looked a little, on which Claire smiled, as they were close to failing, but it still counted. So she called the Fenrirs to come and eat. Eckhardt then asked if it was done. But Takumi went for another test, and this time he put the sausage on their nose. They threw it in the air and then chewed the sausage in their mouth. Seeing this, everyone was surprised, but Takumi started shouting at Leo. He warned that if next time they fail, they wouldn't get dinner. The second time, the Fenrirs somehow did it, and so Takumi asked them to eat it. Again, they ate it in a playful way. Takumi then asked if Eckhardt wanted to try riding on Leo. Eckhardt was surprised, but still he agreed for it. Takumi called Leo. While starting, Eckhardt again asked if it would be okay. so he had a ride for some minutes. After that, Eckenhart finally got ready to go back and asked Takumi to look over the residence. Lastly, Eckenhart shared that he is looking forward to seeing their sword-swinging skill. The next day, suddenly Talura started shouting happily that her studies were finished. She again told him that she didn't need to study for a while from the next day. Takumi confirmed this about it from Claire. Claire responded with a yes. She told that she wished for Talura to put so much focus on her studies earlier. Talura then said that they can now do the new plan their father created, and she didn't want studying to get in the way. Takumi praised Talura for it. Claire also agreed that they should do it, and Takumi then asked if Leo was ready. Leo barked in response with happiness. Finally, they were ready to start the new training plan that Eckenhart suggested. The plan was that they had to try attacking Leo with their swords, but they were nervous because it wasn't easy to go fight Leo directly. However, the good thing is that no matter how much they hit Leo with their swords, it wouldn't cause her pain. The main goal is to hit Leo despite her great speed and skills, so they can know if they are good sword fighters. So, when they started, both Takumi and Talura ran toward Leo to attack. But Leo easily avoided them by simply jumping, and like that, they both tried it again and again. After some time, they got tired and were stressed because Leo's speed was impossible for them to match. Takumi felt that it looked like a game for Leo, but that meant they still had a lot to learn. Takumi decided to achieve it somehow very soon. After that, they praised Leo for being so good. Sebastian shared that both Takumi and Talura were swinging their swords perfectly. They just needed to time their moves with Leo. Takumi agreed, but now he thought about how to match Leo's fast speed with their eyes. Claire interrupted and asked them, "What if you swing your swords a little bit earlier?" Talura was confused, but Takumi found it to be a good idea as it could help them. But still, they decided to do more practice for it. They asked Leo for her help. And so, Takumi decided to put all his effort into this. Inside the mansion, Claire asked if Takumi would take a short break. He responded with an okay. She shared that they were going to begin selling, and so he should come and see it. He agreed to do that. Suddenly, Talura showed her wish to join them too. Claire asked about her studies. Talura was ready to do it in advance and also wanted to go with Leo. Claire shouted that they were not going to play. Talura responded that she simply didn't want to stay at home all the time. Takumi found that to be true, and so he asked Claire to bring Talura with them, as it wouldn't be dangerous this time. Claire now had to agree to it. Sebastian asked Takumi to grow some extra plants. Takumi agreed, and Claire asked him to not overdo it. He didn't faint like before because of his training. 2 days later, they all were ready for going. Talura came a little late, so Takumi asked the reason. She showed him her sword. Takumi knows that they wouldn't get hurt, but it's not bad to take a sword with them. Finally, they headed out for the shop. On the way, he asked Leo not to get so excited. Claire said that it must be fun for Leo, as due to training she had not been able to run around freely before. Takumi also showed kindness toward the kids having fun, but Claire was looking toward Takumi's happy face and said that she was talking about him. He blushed hearing it, as he misunderstood. She was smiling while looking at him, on which he asked if it was really that funny. Even Sebastian was laughing outside the carriage while driving. They then finally reached their destination. Inside the town, they walked toward the shop and showed Takumi the shop where they were going to sell the plants. Takumi saw the shop is on the first floor. He then asked Nicola to keep an eye on Leo and Sherry. Entering inside, Takumi saw a new person. The person greeted them and then introduced himself as Callus, the person put in charge to look after the shop. Takumi then curiously asked how Callus knew about him. Callus shared that Sebastian told him, and even assured Takumi of not telling anyone about him. They went into the back room, and Sebastian showed the plants to Callus. Callus praised the quality of the plants, as they usually don't come across such good ones. Callus called the other workers and asked them to take care of the plants. Takumi asked if they were doing something with them. Callus shared that they would sort them into different small boxes for selling each one. Callus then took a table outside of the shop and said that he would like to show the plants since it's their first time selling them. Suddenly, Takumi heard Callus shout in fear. Takumi ran outside and saw that Callus got scared of Leo. Sebastian made Callus remember that he already told him about Leo. Claire also asked him not to worry about Leo, as she wouldn't hurt anyone. Takumi asked Callus to pet her. After petting her, he felt less tense. Finally, they were all ready with the display and the small packets. The last thing is to wait for customers. Inside, Takumi and Claire were hoping sales would get started. Suddenly, they heard some noise from outside. Upon looking, Takumi got shocked as there were too many people gathered around. Sebastian shared that it looks like Callus did a very good job. He explained that gathering kids to pet Leo indirectly brings their parents. So, overall, the idea was great. Takumi then himself went outside and asked Callus if everything was all right. Callus shared that Leo is more famous than they expected. Takumi noticed that Leo is confused since it's her first time dealing with this. Hearing this, Callus got nervous. Takumi went near Leo and praised her for staying calm. He then asked Leo to let out a loud howl, hearing which, every child paused for a few moments. Takumi shared that if they wanted to pet her, they have to get in line. Callus agreed to handle the children's queue. Takumi also asked the parents to go and buy plants if they want. After that, some hours went by due to being so busy. At that time, a child from behind pulled Takumi. Seeing this, he asked the reason. The child asked Takumi to come with him. Before going, Takumi asked Leo to be careful and stay calm with the kids. The kids were dragging him somewhere. After some minutes, he left Takumi with a man, who gave the kids some steaks for doing it. The man was one of the people Takumi met in the past. Takumi thought that the man was arrested, but actually the guy named Mac got out for being well-behaved. Takumi asked the reason Mac asked the kid to bring him with tricks. Mac shared that it's time for him to get back at Takumi for the embarrassment. Takumi was confused about how he had embarrassed him, but Mac didn't hear and shouted that he would do it, as Takumi's pet wouldn't feel anything from this far away. Takumi sneakily put a hand on his sword, and when Mac came to attack with a small sword, he pulled his sword out to defend. Mac was stunned seeing the sword. They again clashed their swords, and Takumi noticed Mac's weak spot and used it to win the fight. Mac is now kneeling on the ground in front of Takumi, as Takumi is ready to stab if he moves. When Takumi was thinking about something, Mac got a chance and threw himself back toward his sword to pick it up. But by then, Leo came out of nowhere to attack Mac. Sebastian and others also came there and asked if Takumi was all right. Takumi thanked his sword-fighting skill. Sebastian then saw Mac and remembered something about him. Takumi told the past event and the trick Mac used to pull Takumi out. Sebastian then went near Mac and asked if Mac was aware that they are connected to the ducal family. Hearing it, Mac got shocked and responded with a no. Sebastian shared that Mac is now good to hear that he can easily be sentenced with death only. Mac is nervous and trying to run, but Sebastian asked him not to, as it's a silver fenrir. Mac asked them to help him, as he just did it in the heat of the moment. Sebastian was wondering what to do now, but Takumi interrupted and asked Sebastian to forgive Mac. So, on Takumi's request, Sebastian agreed to let Mac go. Till that, the daily city guards also came there, so Sebastian went to deal with them. After some moments, Sebastian came back and told Claire and Takumi that Mac isn't a problem at all, as he hadn't done serious crimes before. He just makes threats and gets arrested. But now dealing with the ducal family, they can throw Mac out of the town or country. So Takumi went toward Mac and asked if Mac knows what wrong he did. Mac asked for forgiveness for his bad deeds. Takumi then realized that if Mac wants, he can behave well. So he asked Claire and Sebastian if he could make the choice on this matter. They both agreed to it, as Takumi was the one to beat Mac. Takumi thanked them, and now thought that if he gave Mac to the guards, Mac would cause trouble again, so he had to focus on future things. Takumi asked Callus if he had enough people at the shop. Callus responded that maybe he needs more help. Takumi then suggested Callus to hire Mac, but Callus isn't sure about it. So Takumi thought to hire Mac himself for selling plants. As Mac can carry the plants for Takumi, and being free, Mac can work at the shop too. Callus asked if Takumi was sure that Mac would do that. So Takumi thought to figure it out somehow. Sebastian interrupted, saying that it's a perfect job for Leo, as Leo can follow someone anywhere once she smells the scent. She asked to leave tracking Mac to her. When Mac got to know about it, Mac nervously asked if Takumi would really give a job to someone like him. Takumi responded yes, and said if he tries to run, then Leo is there. Mac got scared and promised that he wouldn't run. Callus again asked if Takumi was sure about hiring a criminal. Takumi shared that he wants to help Mac follow the right path. Sebastian shared that it reminds him of the past, but he didn't say what the past was. Takumi then untied Mac, and after it, Mac started calling Takumi boss. They introduced each other, and then Takumi asked Mac to make sure he works. Mac agreed with it. After they headed back to the shop, Callus shared that they had finished selling the plants. Takumi is surprised and asks if the town didn't have enough plants for everyone. Callus shared that it's just that a cheating plant doctor set up a shop, and they sell poor quality plants with the promise of full effect. Hearing this, Sebastian felt it was interesting that someone dared to set that up in the ducal family's area. Seeing him, Takumi was surprised, but Claire shared that Sebastian loves to take down people who don't follow the rules. Mac came from inside and told about the guy who's selling fake medicine, as the guy is from another town and has some connections with an aristocrat. Mac said that before this, he caused trouble in that shop, as Mac got beaten by some men, and those men told him that the aristocrat gave them permission to make sales, and if he troubles them again, he is troubling a noble. Takumi realized the situation and wondered if an aristocrat really gave permission. Still, Takumi thanked Mac for the information. Till that, Claire came there and Takumi told everything to them. Sebastian and Claire decided to tell this to Eckenhart. Sebastian asked Nicola to go and find out as much as he could and then report it to Mr. Duke. While Nicola was going, Takumi gave him 2 plants for muscle and tiredness recovery. He even asked Nicola to not eat both at the same time. Collis then asked Takumi if they could talk about what to do with plants from now on. Collis shared that they need more quantity, and moreover, it would be good to have extra capwort. Takumi got confused about capwort. Collis shared that there's been a sickness going around, so capwort would be good for that. Takumi confirmed if it was a widespread illness. Collis said yes, and with selling capwort, the illness will end, and the Duke's good name will grow. Sebastian took the order task. Claire then asked Takumi to go with her to an orphanage. While on the way, Claire shared that she is worried about the orphanage after hearing about the illness. Takumi got the news that managing an orphanage is done by nobles in large towns. So the ducal family runs it and hires those kids as helpers or workers after they are grown up. Layla, Gelda, Nicola, and Philip are all from the orphanage. When they reached, Takumi saw that the orphanage looks like a church. Leo started acting strange, so Takumi asked about it. Leo shared that she felt strange from the inside. Claire asks the cleaner about the head lady's location. The head lady, Martellana, came out and greeted them. But she told them that it's not a great time to visit the orphanage. Claire asked if something happened. Martellana shared that they bought medicine from a shop at good prices, but it would not work. Claire confirmed if it was from a shop, claiming to have ties with rich people. Martellana responded with a yes. Suddenly, she understood and nervously asked if they weren't the nobles who the shop referred to. Claire responded no, and decided to deal with it soon, as it would hurt the ducal family's good name. Martellana asked forgiveness for making such a mistake, but Claire knows it's not her fault. Sebastian decided to help the orphanage first, so Claire asked Takumi to help in getting the plants. Martellana asked about Takumi and got tense to see the fenrir. Claire introduced Takumi and asked her not to worry about Leo. Sebastian made Takumi know that Claire is hiding his special ability. Both greeted each other, and then they went inside the orphanage. They got shocked to see the state of the kids. Upon checking, Sebastian shared that it's the same as Tellura's condition. Takumi knows that it could be a cold, but a strong one, so they had a discussion about it, and then Takumi asked if Sebastian needs capwort. Sebastian responded with a yes. Takumi then asked Sebastian to not worry about it. They went to the orphanage yard, and Takumi used his plant-growing technique there. Its effect varied, but the kids mostly got well, and some of them are still lying down. Everyone thanked Takumi for it and told them to take the same medicine even if they didn't get the illness. Martellana confusedly asked him why. Takumi said that she might have caught some of the sickness germs. Sebastian was happy that they were able to figure out the illness. Claire then asked Martellana about the capwort being sold. She shared that someone bought the entire supply in their town, and it was 2 weeks ago that they found out someone was selling it for cheap prices. Claire saw it as suspicious, and so Sebastian and she decided to look into it, as there were so many strange connections. She shared that the medicine came 2 weeks ago, and so the illness came. Takumi asked that it means the shop planned all of it. Claire and Sebastian are sure of it that they bought the plants and then mixed them with something. Sebastian suddenly asked to leave for some time. Takumi asked what was wrong. Claire confirmed that Sebastian helps Nicola with the search. Claire then asked Martellana if they can stay at the church until Sebastian returns. Takumi told Leo to go and play with everyone. Tellura asked all the kids to go and play with Leo together. Everyone is happily playing with Leo, but in between a child came near Takumi. Her name was Militia. She thanked Takumi for the help, as she is fine now. She even said sorry to the mistress, but she wanted to thank him by herself. Martellana told Takumi that Militia is the oldest child at the orphanage, as normally she leaves for work, but right now she is at the orphanage to help. Militia responded that helping the orphanage is also good work, and she likes helping people. Claire shared that Militia rejected their job offer for this same reason. Militia was thankful for raising her, and that's why she likes to help people. Takumi asked Militia what she means by helping people. She wasn't sure about it. Takumi gave the example of selling vegetables, as it's also a way to help, and asked what Militia likes to do that would help others. She shared that she was happy when he cured everyone, but she can't do that. It's because she doesn't have an orphanage and knowledge about medicine. He told her that can be fixed by studying, so she just needs to decide what to do. Militia thought and shouted, "Doctor!" and asked if Takumi would teach her. Takumi got in trouble as he didn't know much about being a doctor, as he was pretending. Still, he asked the reason, so she shared that he came up with a fix so fast and all the kids are now playing happily. He told her that he now understood what she wants, hearing which she got happy and asked if he was ready for teaching. He first asked about it to Claire as if Militia can stay at their mansion. Claire had no problem with it, but she made sure that Militia can't live with him in the same room. He also didn't want that. Marntalana then asked Takumi if it's truly okay for him. They then took her to the backyard and asked her to keep whatever she is going to see a secret, as the ducal family also kept it a secret. Takumi then grew some capwort using his gift power, seeing which Militia got stunned. Takumi shared about his ability. Till that, Sebastian came and said that he would tell the rest of the information to Militia. Seeing Sebastian, Claire got happy. After some minutes, Militia understood everything. Takumi asked if she was confused. She responded with a no, as it feels amazing that such a great skill exists. She then called Takumi a special person or teacher, and that she would do everything he says and will work hard as she could to learn about medicine. Takumi isn't satisfied to hear the teacher word because he thinks that he wasn't good enough for it. She said that it doesn't matter, as she had always seen him as her life's teacher. Takumi is feeling uneasy as first he heard boss, and now teacher. It's very strange for him. Seeing him, Claire was smiling, and finally now, Takumi is looking forward to know more about Militia.